Let's see if this works. All right. Looks like we are live. Nice.
Nice. Okay. What can I do? I can also share my screen, which will do that. And awesome. All right. Well, welcome, Charlie. Welcome, Locksmith. You're first here. I think you know how it works. You were here last week. Well, you certainly know it, I think, pretty well, Locksmith. Welcome to the Sage on stage. The idea is you're going to get some debates going, see if the mapping works.
The conversation is about gathering participants and addressing hesitations about using an AI presence. Curiosity about those avoiding the space is surfacing. What's your take on it?
God, that's way too much. Okay, so yeah, we want some topics. So the first thing is I want the first of those who've stepped up, Locksmith first, Charlie, then IC. What are some topics you want to debate? What's front of mind today? Israel's a good one. Are there any topics you'll wanna that we can put in the list for things that need discussing today?
Oh, I missed that. My headphones got connected. What did you say?
I'm just saying, we're going to do the show, and are there any topics you'll want to defend or debate on today? What was the one we were having ours was about the existence of God, wasn't it, Locksmith? We had that the other day. I don't want to really debate in here, but that's could be
existence. I don't know. I think we did geocentrism too.
Geocentrism.
Stationary.
Yep. So all right, so we got geocentric.
Bringing ships back from over the horizon.
Okay. I see spin is bringing ships back. Any else? What others? Who wants to take it up first? Who wants to? The goal is. So the way it works is it's somewhat open chat, but the goal is that we're going to get more and more into getting more sort of not formal debates, but deliberate debates. So we open a space, we have a chat, we get on well. That's sort of the most important bit. But then we want to have people go, right, here's something I want to debate with someone, and pick something that they're willing to defend. And then we have the AI is going to map it. So that's part of why we're here, is so I can learn and develop Sage. But I think also to play with ideas to see. To sort of defend.
The goal is to explore debates and ideas collaboratively. I can assist by mapping arguments and highlighting key points. What's the first topic?
How about was Omnivore actually working with counterintelligence, or is he just LARPing?
Oh yeah. Let me see if I can bring him in. Okay, we'll do that one second. Your I'm just typing that to him in the chat. So that's a good one. We'll get to that once he gets here, so we're not talking about him with his absence. IC Spin, you said you wanted to talk about bringing things back from over the horizon. That's a good one. Let's get started with that, because we've got a flat Earth one to start out, which is a sufficiently weird and wild thing.
Like you're
most people, right?
That's funny.
Who wants to take it? IC Spin, are you saying, was yours about ships disappearing behind a curve?
Yeah, so let me tell you, tell me how I'm approaching this incorrectly, because I'm not sure, but I wanted to see if either A, I could debate Sage and she took the affirmative of that ships can be brought back from over the horizon, for example, or B, Sage explains to people that want to take Sage on about the fact that they can bring ships back from over the horizon and let Sage do all the dirty work.
So the idea is actually different. It is more that she's a mediator and facilitator of the discussion rather than a participant within it. So it'd be better if Locksmith or Riggs wanted to challenge you on that, and then she can map out what you're saying on it.
I got you.
On track as well, ideally.
I mean, I can do it a little. I'm working on some stuff in the background, so I mean.
Okay, go for it. Lay out your case then, IC Spin, and Locksmith will join in as much as he's able. What's your case?
Well, my case is simple. It's that once a ship goes over the horizon, the only way to bring it back is to increase your elevation.
Okay. Are we talking about a geometric horizon or apparent horizon?
We're talking about the horizon that we can see. Yeah.
Is that geometric or is it apparent?
I would say apparent, I guess, right?
Okay. So in this apparent horizon, is that caused by, optics, or is it? Well, I mean, if you're saying it's apparent, it's caused by optics, right?
Forgive me. I'm trying to set. I was kind of caught off guard. Set something up. It's caused by the curve of Earth. Put it plainly. But yeah, you could call it an optical phenomenon, sure.
Okay, I mean, well, if it's optics, if you change your optics, it's going to change the horizon and what you can see. So, if I
Sure.
see if I can't see a ship anymore with my eyes, and I, take out a telescope, and now I can see the ship, that's brought it back from the apparent horizon.
Yeah. Yeah, you caught me off guard. Actually, that's okay. No, it's because I was trying to set something up, but whatever. So say that last part again, man. I'm sorry. I was really distracted. You have my full attention now.
Yeah, if we agree that it's an apparent horizon and it's caused by optics, the horizon that you see with your eyes, you see a ship disappear over that apparent horizon. If you take out a telescope and change your optics, you can bring it back from, disappearing from that apparent horizon that your eye sees.
Do you have any evidence of this?
I mean, like, you can only see a certain distance with your eyes, right? So anything disappearing beyond that, it would be vanishing into the horizon, right?
I mean, that's another claim. I mean, we can see the stars. The stars further away than the horizon.
I don't know. Did you take a tape measure and measure them, or
no? I just looked at them.
Go there. Okay, so you don't know where they're at. So they're in apparent positions as well. All right.
I know where the sun is, right? Sun's further away than the boat on the horizon, for example. Same with the moon.
I don't know. Never been there, but so okay.
Yeah. So the point is that when things disappear over the horizon, I mean, it's kind of embedded in the way that I said it. It goes over the horizon, and that it disappears from the bottom up. And on a flat Earth, right? One would expect it's sort of to, if anything, because of the atmosphere, it should fade into obscurity. It should become unresolvable by way of it just getting too small, sort of to like a focal point, like in the middle, wherever it was. That's like how perspective works. The law of perspective dictates that things that are in the center of like at your eye level, right? Nothing that is above your eye level will ever cross to become below your eye level, and vice versa. Nothing below your eye level ever cross to come above your eye level, all else equal, right? Obviously, refraction can cause things to behave in certain ways, but the main idea is that it shouldn't disappear from the bottom up in the way that it does that we see in reality.
Okay, so you wouldn't expect things to disappear bottom up over a flat surface?
No, I wouldn't. And if anything, I would expect it to rise slightly because of the way that refraction normally behaves. It lifts things up. The light will be bending down towards the denser medium. In most cases, if we're talking about looking over water, which I think you're okay with, we're talking about a horizon. Easiest to see over a bottom of water, but usually the denser medium is going to be the cold air coming off of the ocean, which will cause refraction to bend down, making distant objects appear higher than they actually are.
Okay. So what would happen if I showed you objects disappearing bottom up over a known flat surface? Will that change your mind at all, or no?
It depends on what you're going to show me. If you're going to show me like inside of a Home Depot or inside of a mall, I've seen those and there are explanations in the globe, but I mean, it just depends on what you show me.
Well, just RC boats over a flat lake.
How do we know that the lake's flat? Because that's sort of begging the question, right? You're
Well, I mean,
assuming that it's flat,
it's not
and I would say,
disappearing
well,
over curves.
well, again, I think that's begging the question, right? Because like what we would say is that every body of water is affected to some degree by Earth's curvature. In fact, there's a lake called Lake Pleasant that a guy by the name of starts with a B, who's, the main surveyor. I have this video. It's gonna kill me. Anyways, there's a video I have over Lake Pleasant. It's a mile long, and it shows an 8-inch discrepancy of like where the center line should be. Both are measured 61 inches above the water surface, and there's a discrepancy which shows that there's clearly about 8 inches of drop from a mile long for a lake. So, I mean, things are affected by Earth curvature over a lake. I mean, it depends on what you're talking about in terms of the distance, but we would expect Earth curve to affect all bodies of water.
Yeah, it's just like a small little lake. Like any curve would be nominal.
Any curve would be nominal.
Yeah.
Are we right in testing a lake, though? I might be getting confused, but I feel like the question you two are trying to answer is water curved? So we can't use water to test that, right? Because water will just do what water does. We can't start off with a presumption that it's...
No, it's more, can things disappear bottom up over a flat surface?
Right, but don't we have to get a known flat surface where the question itself is whether a lake surface is flat, or am I misunderstanding it?
Yeah, we know it's not a sphere.
Well, that's begging the question.
Starting with the assumption, if we're starting with the assumption that it's not a sphere, then we're not testing whether it's a sphere.
We're not testing if it's a sphere. We're just saying if things can disappear bottom up over a non-spherical.
It wouldn't be a known.
But
it wouldn't be a known. It wouldn't be a known flat surface, right? What you're doing is you're like sort of you're saying that it's a known flat surface because it can't be a sphere.
It's not a sphere.
Yeah, but that's not an argument, right? You're just assuming the conclusion.
Like an Olympic swimming pool, is that not suitable either?
Well, I mean, that would technically it would be better, but it's still we would still say that it's affected by the curvature of Earth because it's a body of water.
Okay, so it's just
unfalsifiable. It's not unfalsifiable. Your position is what you're doing is you're using the conclusion and your premise. You're saying that Earth can't be a sphere, so this is why it's a known flat surface. That'd be like me saying that this is not a known flat surface and therefore it can't be flat or something like that.
Oh, I mean, I'm just saying. Okay, we know it's not a sphere. It's not a sphere, right?
I don't think that Locksmith is properly armed for this debate.
Okay, you could LARP. You could go back to the mirror, practice your counterintelligence LARP. We're talking about something right now.
But what do you mean when you say that we know that it's not a sphere, though? Are you saying that, like, are you saying...
My bad.
Well, what are you saying when you say, because I would disagree, right? You're saying we know that it's not a sphere, and that's sort of part of the reason that we're talking, right?
Right, we know the lake or the Olympic swimming pool isn't a sphere. It's more analogous to a planar surface.
Well, what we're not even discussing, that's sort of an irrelevant talking point, I think, because we're only discussing on whether or not that it's, I mean, this is kind of an aside, but ultimately the lake, from my point of view, would be affected by Earth curvature, and you're saying that it's not. And those implications on whether or not it's affected by Earth curvature goes back to the main point of whether or not you can explain why ships disappear from the bottom up for the horizon, right? So, like,
right, you're claiming things only disappear bottom up because it's due to the curving surface of the sphere, right? So we
wouldn't
can
say
make an
only.
analogy to a planar surface, which would be a lake or a swimming pool, and we can show objects disappearing bottom up. So it's not exclusive to a curving globe.
I still think that IC is right. That sounds to me like begging the question. The question.
Ask Sage what she thinks.
Yeah, fair enough. What do you think? Is that begging the question, Sage?
Can you say that again?
So it's about locksmith's position, and it sounds like locksmith's position is in order to test the curvature of water, we start with an assumption that it's not curved, but I'm not sure if I'm getting that wrong. So I'm asking you, is locksmith begging the question, Sage?
Should we be getting Sage? Because we're not getting her voiceover.
You don't hear her just now.
Locksmith's position seems to assume a flat surface, which may overlook curvature's role. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, I just heard her then. Did nobody else?
Okay, but I think you could equally say that for icy spins. We're assuming a curved ocean and saying, okay, well, this assumed curved surface is causing the bottom up obstruction.
Oh, wait.
Right?
Yeah. Did you guys hear her then? Because Tristan said he heard her. I'd heard her, but if other people aren't,
yes, we heard her. We heard her.
Okay, it could be my fault.
You might need to go out and come back in icy spin, but otherwise,
no,
yeah,
I'll let it roll.
It just seems like you guys are assuming that the bottom up obstruction is caused by the Earth curving, but you're presupposing the Earth is curving, right? Yeah, I'm saying the swimming pool is flat, or it's analogous to a planar surface.
Mm-hmm.
And on that planar surface, we can demonstrate the bottom up obstruction. So I mean,
I had Sage muted. That's why. That makes sense.
I had her muted too.
That'll do
it. So you'd have to disagree with the premise that the swimming pool is analogous to a planar surface.
Yeah.
How is it? Well, how is it analogous to a planar? We're not really talking about. I mean, of course, the swimming pool is going to look flat. Like, it's going to be really hard to determine the shape of the Earth based on like a swimming pool. But it's not analogous to a planar surface better than it is analogous to a curved surface. We're talking about scale here, right? Like a swimming pool is much smaller than something that would easily be measured against the scale of the size of Earth.
Yeah, physics scales, right? So we have. You said it yourself. It looks flat. You're not going to find any curvature there. It would be very hard to do so. So it's analogous to a planar surface. It's a swimming pool. So if we disagree with that premise, it's just, I don't know.
So there is a half-mile tow tank, which is a swimming pool, indoor swimming pool that extends for half a mile, and they explicitly check for the curvature of it because they know it's curved and they have to build the tow rails to match that curve. So this is a piece of precision engineering. It's super complicated how they did it. And they had to for this tow tank to work correctly, so they could build the ships correctly. They had to match the rail curve to Earth curve. So that's in an indoor swimming pool. So no, what you're saying is explicitly not correct.
So that swimming pool is equivalent to a sphere with a 3959 is scaled down, or is it more analogous to a planar surface?
It is.
The answer is more analogous to a planar surface.
It is exactly what you would expect for a sphere of 3959. I put the document in the chat.
I got a question.
Okay.
So if you scale it down using a pool, right, a swimming pool, a flat indoor swimming pool, could you test it with a size down RC and get the same result? Would you say that that's reasonable?
No, they're disputing that right now.
Right, and I think they're looking over that. That's what I'm trying to say.
So the only way you're going to, over a half mile, the only way you're going to detect the curvature is with they used precision digital theodolites and laser.
Okay, so it's nominal. Great. But anyways, it doesn't have to be a half mile. It could just be any.
Well, right, but
surface. It's always going to obstruct the same.
But what
the
you're
bottom
not
of the
getting,
object has a smaller angle to the surface and the vanishing point.
Yeah, what you're not getting is that on the scale that a half mile swimming pool gives, the amount of curvature is far, far too low for you to detect with the naked eye.
Okay, then it's nominal. Thank you. So it's more analogous to a planar surface. Thank you.
It is not.
Yeah. You just said it's imperceivable. You need.
I said no. I didn't say it's imperceivable. I said you can't detect it with the naked eye. So what that means is that in order to build the rails correctly, the rails have to track along Earth curve. Okay, there's a reason for that. It has to do with how they test the boats that they're using this to build. This is for the Navy. So in order to do it, they had to use digital theodolites and extremely precision test things in order to get this working correctly. They talk about this in the document I put there. If you read the document, it's all over in there. It's full of that. So these guys, these precision engineers, it's the Precision Engineering Corps. They are aware that the Earth is curving, that the water is curving, and that in order to work correctly, the rails that tow the rig have to match the curvature of the Earth, or else it will be pulling the boat shape through the water incorrectly.
Okay.
So I suggest you read that document.
It's just irrelevant to the discussion we're having right now.
Well, it shows you it is really good scientific, or at least engineering evidence that.
Right, but it's not relevant. It's not relevant.
Well, it should be. If you understood it, I think you would find it relevant.
It's an explanation for the main thing that we're discussing, right? Like we would say, well, I mean, these tow tanks show that there is Earth curvature, which would show the fact that the boat's disappearing over the horizon. We could scale it because you mentioned, science scales, right, or physics scales. Could scale it up, and that would provide an explanation as to why things disappear over the horizon, including like the sunset and the moonset, and why it's a clear, crisp horizon in most cases when it disappears. So I don't know how it's not analogous or how it doesn't lend itself to an explanation.
Yeah.
Well, do you have an explanation though for why, for example, like a boat, why it would disappear from the bottom up?
Yeah, I just told you, and we can demonstrate it.
But do you have an explanation?
Yeah, the bottom of the object has a smaller angle in relation to the surface, right? So that's going to be the thing that disappears before the top of the object.
So you're saying that the top of you're saying the top of the object is a different size than the bottom of the object?
It's farther away from the surface. The bottom of the object is touching the surface. Has a very small angle away from the surface.
Well, what about when the middle of the object disappears and then the top of the object disappears, like in that order?
Wait, what was the order?
Like, let's just get rid of the bottom thing since you have an issue with the bottom of the boat, and let's just say the middle of the boat. What if the middle of the boat disappear before the top of the boat disappears?
The middle of the boat disappears?
Yeah, let's call it like a cruise liner, right? Or something substantial. Like the middle of the cruise liner or the ship or something will disappear before the top of the ship.
Like a mirage or an optical effect like that? Because I thought we were trying to nail down if it's due to a geometric horizon or if it's just all optics and apparent horizons.
That's why I'm asking for an explanation of why, like, if we can witness something like the middle of a ship disappearing before the top of a ship disappears, we just forget about the bottom of the ship because, you know, you can say that it's closer to the surface or whatever, but middle and the top, right? Like we could say that those probably split the difference in some cases between our vision, where, you know, we're 6 foot tall or something, and maybe we're standing up on the you know, the top of the beach looking at it, just in a hypothetical. So they're close enough to where it would be interesting to be like, well, you know, why does that happen if not for the, you know, curve of Earth?
Right. So it sounds like, the middle obstructing first is due to the curve of Earth, because it sounded like you were kind of abandoning the whole geometric curve is the reason for bottom up obstruction in favor of optics are causing it.
Well, would you agree that bottom up obstruction would cause the middle to disappear before the top?
I wouldn't agree with that.
So like if we're talking about bottom up, just like the root of it, right? We're going from, let's just say from the bottom of the ship, and then we're going to end up going, you know, up, and eventually the ship will disappear. And the last thing that you'll notice is the top of the ship disappearing. So if that's the case, if you can agree to a concept like that, then, you know, just by that very fact, we can say that the middle would disappear before the top, since that's the last thing.
Oh, the middle. Okay.
So
I thought you meant the middle. Okay.
You know what I'm
like
saying?
it's interesting because whenever you have this, a lot of times in different conditions, you'll be brought back into view. And then also like it looks like it's just sinking and falling straight down, almost like the ship's sinking in a way, like instead of like going around the curve, like but yeah, that's funny. I can give you papers where the bottom up obstruction of boats is actually from refraction. Even from the 1800s, they had papers on this that more recent papers cited. That's how I found it. It's by the Royal Society.
I can show you an example that, sure, Taylor. Let me show an example though of what I'm talking about. It might be helpful. I'll post it in the main chat. This is a clip of a boat. Yeah, this one right here. I like forward. Where are we at? Coliseum. Where is it? Where?
Side chat. What do I need to do? Ping you here. I see.
I'll do general and Coliseum. So everyone.
I've pinged you in the side chat for this room that we're using.
Cool. Okay.
Well, yeah. So if you're claiming, your opening argument, you want to talk about, can we bring back ships over the horizon, right? I wasn't sure. What did we land on? Did you say it was a geometric horizon or it's a apparent horizon? And if it's a geometric horizon, why are there so many observations that are inconsistent
It's a
with that claim geometric horizon?
It's a geometric horizon, and where we see it depends on the refractive conditions of the day. So we see it in an apparent position, but
so it's an apparent horizon.
We see it because there is a geometric horizon. I can post a picture of how this actually works according to refraction.
Well, you said there's a geometric horizon, but in reality, it's an apparent horizon because we never observed the geometric horizon. We just observed where it appears to be due to atmospheric condition effects.
Just so we're clear, it's all the same horizon. The reason
you just made a distinction between the geometric and the apparent.
My statement. So the horizon you're seeing is always an actual physical horizon, but you can see it further away than it would be on an airless ball. If the Earth had no atmosphere, you would always see it in the same place. But because the Earth has atmosphere, you will see it in different locations. I put a picture into the side chat that explains how that works.
Okay, so you just made a distinction. We can only observe an apparent horizon.
You can only observe an apparent anything. Yeah, because everything you see with your eyes goes through the atmosphere.
Apparent versus geometric.
It's always refracted a little bit.
Okay.
Like even your orange juice in the morning is refracted.
Sage. The apparent horizon is what we see, influenced by atmospheric refraction, while the geometric horizon is the theoretical curve of the Earth. Both play roles in how we perceive distances and objects at sea.
Sage. Thank you very much, Sage.
Refraction affects all sightings.
So you guys abandoned the geometric horizon in favor.
No. Did you happen to see the ship going over the horizon? Eggshells was showing it on screen a minute ago, but
somebody take over with me. I got to be right back.
About the horizon, the geometric one.
Yes, they go over the geometric horizon. When they go over the horizon, that is going over the geometric horizon. But you may see that further away based on refraction. You can look at the picture I put in at 37 past the hour.
Do you see, Rob? Do you see what Eggshells is showing on screen? It's a cruise liner, as I understand it, or a barge or something. But
it's like a row boat, see right on, right off.
Yeah,
like a car ferry.
Back and forth. Yeah,
as it gets further and further out, it's either sinking or going over an obstruction called an earth curve, right?
Just proves earth curve, right? That's all that video does.
It shows that things disappear from the bottom up, which the globe
that can be demonstrated over
model,
relatively planar surface. So,
well, why is the middle of the boat disappearing before the top of the boat? Right now, on the bottom, you can say waves, or you can say this or that, but like eventually, here in about a few seconds, right, the middle of the boat, right there, where the bottom of those, that deck, it's gone now, and the last to survive is the very, very top.
That's all due to earth curve. That's on you. Go ahead. Other people don't have to believe your narrative for why shit disappears bottom first. It could be just the angle is too steep to resolve. Thank you.
Yeah, but that's not how those angles work. That is a misunderstanding of the Rayleigh criteria that people appeal to, but that's not how the Rayleigh criteria works.
Who's going to assert that?
Well,
it's exactly how it works. The bottom of the object is closer to the surface, right?
So why does that make a difference?
Even I bet if you measured that out, it wouldn't match the 3959 horizon. It's just an apparent horizon. You guys already abandoned the geometric horizon.
No.
Yeah.
So
we know it's all due to optics.
Can you see? Can you see what I put in 37 minutes past the hour, Locksmith, in the chat, in the side chat?
Is it this chat?
Yep, side chat.
It's on.
At what time? This hour?
Here we go. It's on my screen.
Okay, so you can look at if you can't see it, if you can't find it in the side chat, then you can see it on Eggs' screen. So what this shows is how the globe model of refraction works. You can see that there is a tangent line without refraction that will tell you where the horizon would be if there was no atmosphere. That is still a geometric horizon. The fact that you can sometimes see past it, or often see past it, however you want to characterize it, and you can see to point C as in Charlie over there, is because refraction pushes back where we perceive that horizon. So it's still a physical horizon. We just see it further back than we would see it if there was no atmosphere.
Right, so we can't observe the geometric horizon, so we have a refractive band-aid to balance out our prediction.
Is he saying,
if you think it's a band-aid, that's because you don't understand how refraction works in science. It's not a band-aid.
Okay, so do you have me turned down?
You were interrupting him.
Okay.
He was still speaking.
Well, he kept talking. Every time I start responding, when he paused, he'd start talking again.
That's a tactic, Taylor. That's a tactic.
I know it's like makes it seem like I'm cutting, but if I just stop talking and somebody else starts, then I start talking again. It's like, anyway. So, are you saying that we see further along the surface on any average day because of refraction on there? That the geometric horizon seems pushed back further. We can see further due to refraction on any given day, on the average day. Is that what you're saying? Does he?
I'm new. You there?
Does he have me turned down? Can you ask him if he can
I'm
he
looking
hear
at
me?
something. What? Sorry.
Can you hear me? Did you have me?
Yeah, I
turned
hear.
down?
Yeah, I hear you. I was looking at something else. What's up?
But did you have me turned down? Because you should have been able to hear me even if you were looking at something else.
I hear you fine.
Did you have me turned down? I was just wondering.
Oh, let's get to it. Please, let's get to it. Let's not. We
Did
don't
you have
want
me
to do a
turned
whole
down?
thing about it. We're not going to do that.
He's
Taylor.
here now.
We're not going to spend 40 minutes doing
Not
it. Let's
heard.
just get to it.
Why can't you just
I was
answer?
away from my keyboard. What's up, Taylor?
Okay. I said, do you assume that the refraction on a given day is going to make the horizon look further away, as in that we can see further due to the atmospheric conditions on any given day? Okay, so you think, and this is along the line of sight of the
The
line of sight being along the
that I put
surface.
up? Taylor, do you see that picture that I put up?
No, I'll pull it up.
37 minutes past the hour in the side chat.
So you think refraction makes things appear taller? We could see further along, even when the line of sight's along the surface.
I think that, yes. I think that picture is how it works. You can look at the picture and suddenly the veil will be lifted from your eyes and you will know what I think.
I thought me and John even discussed the other day on a sunny day in Ruhif, when the line of sight's along the surface, things will appear shorter because of temperature gradients on any average given day.
Well,
so what we learned the other day, of course, what I learned, what I didn't know before, because I knew that on a hot day, light could refract upward near the surface. What I didn't know is that it just as often refracts downward, and when it refracts downward, it does so
Just as
much more
often?
strongly than when it refracts upward.
Whenever you say just as often, just as often during the daytime, or just as often?
If you look
during
at
the
those
night?
graphs in the JGR picture that you gave, basically you find that midday, for 4 or 6 hours, it's kind of dependably downward, and in the evening into the night for just about the same amount of time, it's dependably and much more strongly. I meant dependably upward. During the day, it's dependably upward, and at nighttime, it's dependably and much more strongly downward.
You said just as common, like on any
I think
given
if you
day,
look at those graphs,
you don't mean on any given day. You mean just as common, like in the entirety of the 24 hours. But during the daytime, like when the sun's out, we see that it's most common to have light bending upward, making things appear shorter.
That's right. Very near the ground. Very near the ground. As long as you're not looking at a mountain peak from another mountain peak or anything like that.
Yeah, but Omni was saying that if you're looking at like a boat, having bottom up obstruction, which would be the line of sight near the ground, and usually during the day because you wouldn't be able to see a boat at night.
Well,
he said that would be like a different refractive condition where normally the horizon appears further away, which means that we're seeing further, which means that the light's curving down.
Yeah, well, that would be true if you were looking at boats over grass surfaces like that paper was talking about, but you don't. You look at boats over water surfaces. And I'm not saying that I know what happens. Well, I don't know, but I do know that it's not dependably downward or upward. Oftentimes very near the surface. You get an inferior mirage within the first probably foot or so. Because I think because of humidity.
If I'm at 6 feet, up, and I'm looking at the horizon, hang on, Taylor. If I'm at 6 feet up, looking at the horizon, that is how the atmospheric refraction affects it. Now, if you assume that you take that drawing or that picture that I gave you, and you start a fire or something, between A and B, you may get other results, but that is the average, for whatever your height is. I don't think 6 foot of height. Yeah, I think that this is what happens with 6 feet of height. I think maybe if you're laying on your belly, looking across the ground, possibly that could be different. But, if you think it's different just because of a paper that you read somewhere and you don't know how the height factors into that,
perceive it.
Yeah, no, that's not that. You
No,
know,
I know how the height
On a hot day over
factors into it.
water.
And it says like this is from John's favorite publisher too.
So on a hot day over water, I would expect it to be quite different from over grass, because over grass, the grass gets hot. Over pavement, the pavement gets hot, and the air may be cooler. That's pretty common during the day. But over water, that's not the case. You can have the sun shining on the ocean all day long off the coast of California, and the water's still going to be 65 degrees, regardless of how warm the air is. And that only exacerbates the downward curvature of light that is the norm.
Where do you get that info? The water.
I'm just telling you that's what's going to happen if you have cold air. Well, you know this because if you have cold air is denser than warm air. And not only is it denser, but also that situation is gravitationally stable. When you have dense air underneath less dense air, it's gravitationally stable. To produce sinking refraction is often simply less downward refraction than you usually have. That's what sinking refraction often refers to. To have actual upward refraction, you have to have less dense air underneath more dense air, and that's gravitationally unstable. You
when
can't
did you start with this
maintain that.
point? Just because the paper even says that here's the gradient that would normally be present. So the hot air that's radiating from the surface is going to be consistently lowering the density. I know you're saying like, yeah, in a stable condition, maybe where there was no temperature resistance from the heat expanding the air. Yeah, maybe in that case, but that's just not the case whenever you have heat coming from a surface that would be causing air expansion. So I can give you citations for that if you'd want, but
well, I pointed to a thing, Taylor, a year or two ago. One of the first times I encountered you, you referred to a naval postgraduate school paper, and you claimed that it supported your contention that light bends upward, and it absolutely did not. I don't know if you remember that. We can go over that again. It makes the point that light refracts downward, and you simply, and as I said the other night,
the naval paper was about.
I have occasionally said, I've occasionally accused you of lying, right? I don't know if you're lying or not, but I do know that what you say is wrong. And in that particular case, it was demonstrably wrong. We can. I'll put the paper up again for you.
No, I said that they used the flat Earth figures. It says for the remainder of this course, we will use the flat Earth for their like charts and stuff. For the remainder of the course, they will assume the flat Earth. They still said that the light's curving upward.
No, they did not.
Yes, it is. I made this point not long ago.
No, I know, and it was, and if you did, you were once again mistaken. Now, I won't accuse you of lying.
What was I wrong about?
Well, let me put the paper up.
You're just saying I was wrong about saying what I said, but what in particular was wrong?
The Navy postgraduate school chose the flat Earth for the majority of their models. I remember that point.
They show the Earth. They show the light bending downward with a less curvature than the surface of the Earth. And they say, in this figure, we show the Earth, the actual Earth. We show the light bending downward as it does with less curvature than the Earth's. Then they drew a picture of an Earth with 4/3 the radius of Earth. That's kind of a typical surveying correction. It's on the order of a typical surveying correction, in which case they said, if you represent the Earth by a globe that's 4/3 the radius of the actual Earth, then that same light ray will appear to be traveling straight. Means that's what the Earth appears to be larger than it is when you just look at it because of refraction. And then finally, they showed a picture of what that ray would do if the Earth were flat. And of course, because that ray gets further and further away from Earth, if the Earth were flat, that would mean that it bends upward. But they absolutely were not saying that light curves upward. They just weren't. and you represented it as if they were. You were mistaken.
Why did you bring up this
about
random
that.
point? I'm just wondering. Like
Well,
we're talking,
only
like you're moving the point
partially
so quick.
because you
But
were just
yeah, pull up the paper. Let's share your
Okay.
screen. We'll look at it together. I don't know
Okay.
why you like change the point so rapidly. It's kind of weird. Like we're in the middle of another discussion. We're talking about over water. Remember? Like, can you pull the data for over water? You're saying this would happen. I just asked you to source that. That's all, so I can look at it.
Stuck on a tangent.
Okay. So I just put I put the excerpt that you had appealed to there. You can read it for yourself.
John, you'll just like bring up like random other points during a conversation. Like,
no, it wasn't random.
Why?
We've been talking about upward refraction, and earlier you mentioned that you citation you give citations. You do, but you misrepresent them. I don't know if you're lying or if you just haven't
you
read
want to
them.
have a separate
If you're
space on
simply
that?
wrong, but you are wrong.
Okay,
one
that
way
I would
or
love
the
to
other.
go through more citations. Would you like to set up a separate space or a separate time to do that?
To talk about this paper, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, to talk about that and other things you say I misquote.
Well, that's the only one I'm prepared. I'm not going to waste my time right now. I mean, it'd be simpler if you just simply looked at it and saw that what I just said it says is correct. And
well, then
and if
what
you
in
want
there?
to, if you
Go and
want to
share your
pretend that
screen.
you didn't misrepresent it before, I'm
Circle
not going to
the
take
part,
the time.
post it, or share your screen or
It's the
something so I
figure.
can see.
It's right there. It's the figure that's right there
Where?
on the thing. It's the only figure on that page.
Okay, now what did I say about this figure that was wrong? You should still post the link so people have access to it. I'm getting it pulled up right now.
The access to the paper. I did post it in the other chat, so I'll go get it. Hold on a sec.
You have to post in the Coliseum chat.
Yeah. Let me do that in a sec here. Okay, this is, let me.
I'm gonna post a figure too.
So I feel
Okay, so
we're
here's what I posted over in the other chat. I just wondered aloud whether you were still pushing that diagram.
Okay, I'm posting this picture. Oh, did it post? Okay.
Well, I hope we can at least settle this. And if you, I mean, I don't really want to have to go back. And I only know about this because you had referred to it, and you referred to it in support of your
How long
contention that
ago?
light refracts upward. It was probably a year and a half. I don't know.
Is this the thing I've got on my screen? What's the? So this is
Okay, so the
about,
sentence that I was pointing out from this source, like a year and a half ago, most of the displays. Oh, first of all, on a flat Earth, there would be see how the rays are curving upward. That's one point. And one other point was under the flat Earth says most of the displays used for this course use a flat Earth assumption, so the rays appear to bend upward, except in ducting cases to be discussed later.
Exactly. And so,
That's all.
I hope I don't have to explain what that means.
Okay. I just shared that it was there because whenever I was researching refraction, I came across it and it was just an interesting, like, I couldn't imagine that they even had flat Earth as a comparison. That was pretty crazy. And then to say, like, for the remainder of this course, most of the displays used for this course use a flat Earth assumption. Anyway, that was just interesting to me. I shared that source. That's all.
Your point sort of goes back to what I initially was talking with Locksmith. Yeah, Locksmith about where on a flat Earth we would expect things to since the light is spinning up. I'm sorry. You know what? No, I'll take that back. Can you?
Yeah, actually, in fact, on a flat Earth, I mean, this is one of the things, because light does ordinarily refract downward because denser air is always lower than less dense air, and light refracts towards
Not always.
more dense air. Well, but almost always. And very rarely is that very
You just said
strongly.
always, though.
So the point is that on a flat Earth with standard refraction, which is downward, standard refraction throughout the atmosphere is downward. And on a flat Earth with downward refraction, the horizon will always appear above eye level, because the only way you'll see the horizon is with light that starts heading toward above your head and then comes down into your eyes because of the fact that it curves downward. So flat earthers often say correctly that the geometric horizon rises to eye level. No matter what altitude you're at, the horizon will be at eye level.
Did I
and
say
it isn't.
that?
I don't know if you've said that, Taylor, but it's very standard in the flat earth community, and it's
Did
true.
I say I'm even in the flat Earth community?
And it's true. But when you add refraction, when you add standard refraction, which whether it's a flat Earth or a globe Earth is downward because denser air is lower than less dense air, that makes the horizon rise to above
Unless you
eye
have
level.
hot air that is expanding, a hot surface expanding the air near the ground.
Right. There are situations in which the standard is not observed, but except for very near the ground on warm days, refraction throughout the atmosphere is downward.
Cool. Anyway, did you look at the picture I posted in the Coliseum chat? This is from the University of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the hot surface making
Right.
things appear to drop over distance, be obstructed bottom up.
Yeah, inferior mirages, sinking refraction. I get that. I understand how mirages work.
Okay. And there's a couple other things.
Where are we
I wanted
at?
to post the Royal Society saying that the boats disappearing bottom up was because of refraction, because they noticed that it was at too short of a distance to even be due to curvature. Like whenever y'all look at these boats disappearing bottom up or whatever it may be, oil rigs, like I never really see the distance attached and like the observer height and the object height, because I guess somebody in the person that wrote the paper in the Royal Society observed and measured these things, like the distance and the height and stuff, and they said this is actually too close to be from curvature. Like, so we know this is a refractive effect because it's not, the boat and stuff is not far away to have this much obstruction due to curvature.
Well, did you see so I put a thing back where about 35 minutes after the hour picture, and this is a pretty standard picture. It's hard, you have to have a pretty
picture?
No, I didn't, but I've taken pictures like that. Not as good, because the pictures I've taken I don't know. So that's fine.
The source of your images.
If you want to question
the Royal
that this
Society, I gave the University
happened.
of Georgia, the U.S. Post-Naval Graduate School. I give sources that are deemed credible by you guys.
Yeah, that's right. But in the case of the Post-Naval Graduate School, you misrepresent what they say. Now, I don't know if that's purposeful, or if it's just that you haven't read the paper, or if it's just that you don't understand it. But one way or the other, it's wrong. That's all that I care about.
Please. My Discord crashed. What did you say?
What I said is, for instance, in the Post-Naval Graduate School paper that we were talking about before, I don't know if you're lying about it. I don't know if you just haven't read it. I don't know if you just don't understand it. But one way or another, you're wrong about what it says. And that's the only thing that should matter.
What did I say about it that was wrong?
At the time, you pointed to it as indicating that the Post-Naval Graduate School was corroborating your consistent contention that light bends upward over the surface of the Earth, near the surface of the Earth.
This was not my source for saying that. I would have given the peer review sources that I've already linked
Well,
as I
okay,
do
then
now.
I am going to have to
pointed
go
that out
back
to
and
say
find
on
it.
a flat surface, it does say radio waves have been upward. Second of all, I pointed out because it was interesting that says the course will use flat Earth depictions.
Why is that interesting? Why do you find that interesting?
Okay, but no. I'm going back because you literally said that I said something wrong about it. But you're saying that I said about it, I obviously this was a year ago. I don't think any of us can verbatim say it.
Well, I can go back and find what you said.
But I can recall why I shared this.
Now.
It was interesting because
I'm going to step in now. Taylor, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Taylor?
Most of the displays used here are flat Earth assumption.
Please unmute me, Taylor.
You're not muted. I was still talking, though.
Okay, right. You're just going to get muted then.
He accused me of being wrong and lying. Whatever.
Sure, and you may be.
Conversation
You're just going to
stalled.
get muted for now because you're not listening. This is getting into meta. I was subjected to 2 hours of you guys discussing a different discussion last time. I'm calling it here. Well done, both parties. Let's pick a new topic. We can go back to IC Spin because that's what we lost.
Okay.
This started with IC Spin and Locksmith, and I think that was quite interesting. But I'm not going to put up with. I just don't want to listen to a discussion about it.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm done too. Yeah.
Do we want to throw back?
He accused me of lying, though.
Fine.
I did not.
I should be able to defend myself.
Not accuse you of lying.
Of being wrong.
You were wrong. I did not accuse you of lying.
The thing you claim I said, I don't remember saying.
Oh, wow.
John, she thinks the Earth is flat, man. Just drop it.
All right. So, do Locksmith and IC Spin want to pick back up where they took off? Or do we want to move to a whole new topic altogether?
Yeah, I think it ran its... I'm sorry. Okay. Go ahead.
There you go.
I was gonna say, I think it ran its course. I'm happy to leave it there unless you want to keep going, Locksmith, and maybe someone else can get into it.
Purple. No, I was kind of a stalemate, I think.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
So
maybe we can pick back up later.
And what else is at the front of people's minds today? We've got stuff happening. What do we have? We had a UFC fight at the White House, which is about as close to deliberately replicating idiocracy as we can possibly get. What are the other things that are front of people's minds that we want to discuss?
Omnivore LARPing.
I asked Omnivore, he said he's not that keen getting into his military stuff, but we do have an option there. Omni, do you want to talk about, I was thinking it'd be good to have an issue of contention where you can do this as King of the Hill, so anybody can challenge you and it's not limited to Omni and one other interlocutor, but it's sort of Omni's position to defend. If you want to present to us your sort of conspiracy watch website, is that the word for it?
It's Signal Watch.
Signal Watch, yeah.
So I don't know that it's necessarily a point of contention, unfortunately, but go ahead and you can go ahead and bring it up, and I think we might be able to find something to discuss there.
So one thing I did think that might bring people around is I saw that you've got a conspiracy constellation that's spread between the left and the right, and notably, there seems like there's a cluster on one side of this. Do you want to explain?
Sure. So it's a great question. So this is something that I am looking for actual experts. And you can click on that to go into the actual whole page on it. Click on the visualization thing.
Okay.
Read the full analysis. Okay, so yeah, you should be able to go back.
Actual dot. Yep.
Here, go back. Go down. Scroll down. It says read the full analysis down at the bottom. Go.
What map shows methods and caveats. I'm too far zoomed in, aren't I?
Okay. So yeah. So I started trying to figure out, what the political valence is for each theory. And it's a very hard question. So first off, there are the best in class machine learning analyzer reads a bunch of racial stuff as left and a bunch of support for, powerful people, powerful law enforcement as right. But what that means is when you get a white nationalist talking a lot about race stuff, it starts moving that over to the left. I mean, now what they're saying is obviously in context, they're not being nice to those other racial people, but they are talking about them. So that's like the best in class, widely recognized, good political machine learning classifier. It is by itself not up to the job. There's a semantic large language model, transformer-based classifier that does get context. So that helps, right? So I can say the language used in this, appears to be left or appears to be right. But then I can say, but the context for this, according to this large language model, thinks it's a more left-leaning argument. So I combine both of those, but even that doesn't do it. So there's all kinds of data poisoning for this, which is, for example, if I'm trying to figure out where the, Charlie Kirk was a reptilian conspiracy theory lives, and I find a bunch of debunking sites about it, it'll tend to score those, if they're mainstream, as more left than right. And, so I have to try to limit it to believers. So I have to put in a detector to see if the stance is believing or disbelieving. That's a large language model thing. So I'm running several large language models in my machine that are acting as classifiers. They are not generating text. They are simply classifying what comes through using their semantic analysis. So then the next part is, if a neo-Nazi, someone who self-described as a neo-Nazi, is saying a bunch of stuff, there's a pretty good chance that that's a pretty good indication of what the context is. So what I put in there was a analysis of the speaker, where the speaker is known, to see if it can figure out, and that'll apply a lean to the language choices and a nudge to the consistency model, but it does not apply to the whether they're a believer stance or not, which means that if somebody's a notable debunker, it could be, yes, there is no credible evidence that Queen Elizabeth is a lizard. You are correct, Sage. Yes. So,
do you think because I think if I were a right winger looking at this, I would say whoever's made this chart is biased. In that, the two things I would say is, how do you know that some of those are a conspiracy? But the other way I'd do is say, why is believing Area 51 there's a UFO cover up?
Great question. So click on the actual theory. Click on the actual theory.
Right.
Okay.
Core
so then
claims, US government processes recovered a alien spacecraft. Voice of the believer. Voice of reason.
Also, this doesn't account for the shift, because I feel like prior to 2015, 2016, a lot of these conspiracy theories were, backed up or supported by liberals or the left.
Yeah.
Like when I was growing up, it was all anti-war, Bush is da-da-da,
So that's in there. Yeah.
Okay.
So
It does have, so I'm seeing dots on the chart here where there's a bunch of people are, at this line of 0.5 out. I guess that's just a measurement thing of things turning on round numbers.
So that's density.
It's showing there are clusters over on the left, just far heavier ones on the right.
Yes, correct. And you'll find that for each theory where there is enough political valence to score it. You'll find that. So it has a centroid and it has a density curve. So a bunch of them are fairly central. Yeah, you can go down there.
Right, and this one's nearly even.
Yep.
I can click on one in the middle. Right.
Yep.
And then let's go a super extreme one, but an extreme and meaningful one. So we'll take a Bill Gates microchip. And it's, almost exclusively right wing.
But it doesn't have a whole lot of atoms either. Yeah. I mean, it does. It has a few.
Here's my question is, do you think there is a chance, because the obvious question I'm asking is about bias, do you think this graph would skew differently if a well-meaning right-winger decided to make this website and do these analyses? Do you think there's a chance that he would just maybe unknowingly put his finger on the scale to tilt it to show?
Possibly. So I'll explain why I say possibly. Mm-hmm. So I started this with just what's the best political classifier, and I ran it. And I got the Great Replacement theory was left-wing. The Great Replacement theory is the theory that Democrats are bringing in brown people to replace white people because the brown people will vote for Democrats, even illegally. And it's led to a bunch of shooting incidences where people have been killed because of the Great Replacement going on.
And what, this is like an LLM generated lexical analysis algorithm, or like what did you actually use?
So a bunch of things. So to create the corpus of knowledge, I do several enhanced searches. There's a whole methodology to enhance how I search for the harvest of information, and it accrues over time. That gets the basic data. Then I run each atom is essentially a claim. So if I find a video on YouTube that makes 6 claims about the Great Replacement Theory, then if you want to find the Great Replacement Theory, go up to theories at the top.
And did you say, because I was clicking around while you did that, did you say why it picked it as left wing?
Because it was, so 2 reasons. Number one, it was getting in a bunch of debunking stuff, right? That was a problem.
A bunch of left-wingers were talking about Great Replacement Theory.
And saying it was bullshit, right? So that came out as kind of left, pretty left. But also, B, the language that was being used in it was not hard enough to shift it right until we went to the context analysis.
So the language, is in they were still, people were saying stuff about brown people, but they weren't calling them brown people or horrible terms. They would be sort of deliberate to use the word like refugees or immigrants or something, and that gave it a left wing.
Like yes.
Right.
So there was a lot of stuff like that. So I could believe that a right-wing person might not put the 3 different checkers in the way I did.
That's the thing. I think you would find something that is objectively wrong, but is there the risk that then the checker you put in? Because I notice this myself when I go back and I do debates with my viz, and I'm like, they've got that person on the wrong side. But then I notice that I might be in that process of correcting it, I might be giving it a normie or my own bias.
So I am reaching out to people with academic credentials for this, which I know people will say, they're going to fix it. But there is a guy who runs a website called Iffy News, which is a list of low credibility web sources. IFFY.NEWS, I believe.
Right.
And so he is, that's it. So first off, I consider his list of links to be a treasure trove of potential, conspiracy source. But when I got this, because a lot of those sources are right wing, I also did a search for left wing sources of conspiracy views, which has its own corpus in my search tables. So I'm trying to find more left-wing conspiracies, but obviously there's a whole lot of right-wing conspiratorial infrastructure. But he's very interested in left-wing political theories. So, one of the things that I started doing was tuning it to try to find more left-wing conspiratorial stuff. So it's possible.
Does it have to be true, like a true conspiracy?
Well, I don't check to see if any of these are true or not. That's not what makes it a conspiracy theory. What it twigs to as a conspiracy theory are signs of conspiratorial ideation, conspiracy markers. So there's a whole corpus of research about what makes something a conspiracy theory in terms of its construction or not. So, for example, they are with nefarious intent. The victimization of the speaker, that there is a hidden nefarious intent.
Left-wing conspiracy theories are just like history. Like the CIA did crack cocaine, right? Like that's their fault.
Sure.
Or like the CIA tried to make Castro's beard fall out. And there's no... So, like, those things aren't even discussed as conspiracy because they're
Wait a minute. Omnivore should be completely against that. The CIA wouldn't dare do something like that, would they, Omnivore?
But they did it. It's documented. It's declassified.
So, I don't know why you think the only time I've ever really brought
stuff
up
like that, do you?
that.
You believe all the mainstream shit. Like if you went to the CIA right now and they told you, "Oh, we didn't do that omnivore," you'd be like, "Oh, I trust you 100%."
We have documentation. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Bear. We have the documentation for this. It's a matter of history, like you said.
So yeah, I think you've got to, if you're in conspiracy theory land, you've got to just be agnostic as to whether they're true, because otherwise you're just getting into being a conspiracy theorist yourself or a debunker, whereas that's not your job. You're trying to create a sort of
yeah, I want to create a data, very large.
The American government went against the black people of America and hurt them?
Yeah.
Don't say it, though.
Aspirin A. I mean,
holy crap, they did that?
Yeah, but you got to understand something. The person who says the whole reason why this stuff is, why the stats totally support my racism, the numbers totally support my racism. If that's what you're thinking,
I'm not racist at all. I dislike behaviors, but I'm not a racist.
Dislike behaviors. That's a good one. Wait, so Omni, why are you so fixated on if it's left or right? Like, why is that even relevant? Because if you did this in the year 2000, I feel like the chart wouldn't be, filled up on the left side of things.
Was there huge ones there? I am trying to think that I think it's partly because anytime I see a graph like that, I'm immediately like, someone's been massaging the data. I'm not saying you've been doing that, Omni. I'm saying that's my gut reaction when I see a very one-sided left-right graph.
Let me be clear. So first off, the website is essentially in beta right now. I have not been releasing this or promoting it except to a few specific people.
Yeah.
Right. So this is something that I would very much like input on. And I can go and introspect those individual things and look at the individual atoms. It's not information that is especially useful to share, but it is worth looking at. And the system does try to keep incorrect atoms out of there, but that still happens because it's a machine learning AI tool. Sometimes, Tesla's new Cybertruck is totally hot will somehow find its way as an atom. Now, there's been a lot of work done to stop that, but it still can happen depending on where that's situated in a discussion, and if there was stuff above and behind it, and just other things. So there's room for error here. And I don't mean to give it the appearance of the appearance of correctness just because I'm doing data visualization. However, I do think that's a beautiful piece of data visualization. Thank you. So I'm quite pleased with it.
Yeah. So I was trying to think of something provocative to say. I didn't want to be the one debating it, but it could be an interesting one to discuss, particularly because I think it might even inflame you on me. Some of my bias or suspicion is that over here, you're going to find a lot of agnostics and atheists. And over here, you're going to find a large number of people who are believers in supernatural events. And as such, believing in particularly like the deeper you believe, if you get to the point of evangelical young earthers and stuff.
Yeah, that is
necessary as part of it that you must believe in a large conspiracy.
Okay, yeah, that's
the Earth is 6,000 years old. You've got to think of a bunch of geologists.
Yeah, I understand that argument. I don't fundamentally disagree with it, but I will say this. Studies have shown a very predictive link between religion and conspiracy theory belief. That is something that has been checked, and from what I can tell, the data supports it. So that is a thing. However, the people who are deeply into a lot of these conspiracy theories, although it may be, coexistent with their religiosity, it's not I don't see it as being based on their religiosity. So, for example, the COVID lab leak does not support any. There's no miracle at work there. There's nothing metaphysical about the COVID lab leak. However, if you really want to believe that those red Chinamen or yellow Chinamen were creating bioweapons and to use on our red-blooded young boys, then
I think the correlative that X presented is much more closer to reality. Because left and right, that changes with the season. If you go back to 2000, the left was against the establishment and coming up with 9/11 conspiracies and this and that.
Mm.
But if you're talking about the religious beliefs, that's like the core beliefs of an individual.
You can try to show that if you want to make that case with some data. By all means, I will take a look at it.
So what are you trying to show, that people who are classified as right wingers right now are more conspiratorial?
That's not what I'm trying to show. No.
Uh-huh.
That's just what the data I've got right now shows.
What are you trying to show?
I'm trying to build a large corpus of conspiracy information with an eye towards looking for new, novel conspiracy theories. So I want to surface stuff that is not in my database that hopefully is late breaking. So I recently just put in the lizard people conspiracy theory at the top. Yeah, because I didn't have it. And I was like, it should be in there. So I put that in myself. But it found something called McDonald's mind control as a new theory that I had never heard of, and is apparently fairly new, like as of today. Like I don't think it was literally the first mention of it, but it's new. And in order for me to get it, I had to, and also I put in the Challenger crew still alive because it's talked about here, but I hadn't run into it before. So that's not a new theory, but it is new to the system. However, Newsmax conspiracy theory, Democrats nix lost Trump. So the idea is that the Democrats wanted the Knicks to lose so they could blame it on Trump and therefore fire up their base. So that's a fairly new theory, right? Mm-hmm. That's pretty modern. So this is finding new theories, and it's being tuned to find new theories. So it's not really about showing whether they're left or right. That happens downstream of the theory.
Yeah, I like the data harvesting and like analysis. Is pretty cool. I would say I would want to see like a truth classifier or a truth meter, or somehow if you can quantify how true it actually is.
Well, it's all machine learning. Wait, how the political or how true it is?
How true it is. Like
well,
if you came up with a rating matrix or a weighting matrix to determine how true it is, that would be cool.
Yeah, well, the problem is, how do we determine how true it is? That's a epistemological question, and I don't think we would agree on how to do that.
Well, then you can have two filters. Then you could have your definition and your weights and how you would grade something as true. And then you can maybe collab with somebody who's more conspiratorial minded and how they weight things as true.
Well, yeah, but I don't think that tells us whether or not it's more true.
I mean, you could toggle between both.
I think
schools of thought and see which one more aligns with.
I have a voice of the believer and I have a voice of reason. So, although you might not like those terms, and I wouldn't blame you if you don't, they both, one of them they both make the case for their side. In terms of actually providing evidence, I do track quote unquote evidences, which is what I call any artifact that a believer would point to as evidence of their conspiracy theory. So, however, most of these things are not, these evidences are just claims, generally speaking. They're generally almost never, and I do have categories for documents or photographs, things like that.
Yeah. Even if it's biased towards your point of view, I still think, if you have that truth meter, that would it would be like the new Snopes, I think we'll gain a lot of
but found some way where it sort of, could dig up in the background and go, okay, I've got this agentic thing. So I did go and find, because some of them you blow apart. Like I've seen some where somebody goes, look at this, and present a paper or a link or something, and you go, that's to a known satire website. So while for difficult ones like, 9/11, where you're just going to get so lost in the weeds with all of the stuff, you could say with those ones like not enough information or leaning this way. But I think there are some that you would end up being able to go, yeah, this is clearly nonsense. We know the name of the guy who writes it.
Hold on, Omni, really quick. Like, they kind of leaning to what Eggs was saying and about the truth thing. So, the cabal of pedophiles that run the world, right? That whole conspiracy theory and everything else. There is evidences emerging that has reality to it. I think that's kind of what I think is being requested.
Well, so sure. So if Q was about Jeffrey Epstein, then I would agree with that. But Q was not about Jeffrey Epstein.
But I don't disagree with you on that. But they were wrong, but right. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think they were wrong, but still wrong.
They were wrong in saying Hillary Clinton cheese pizza, but they were right with a global cabal of pedophiles that rule the world.
Well, I don't know that we would say that Prince Andrew exactly rules the world, or even that Jeffrey Epstein rules the world.
But Trump does, essentially.
Well, and Trump was friends with Jeffrey Epstein, but what does that mean? What does that mean?
So,
can we?
Okay, so I believe that Donald Trump is implicit in the Jeffrey Epstein files. I believe that every action in this government, going back even to the lockdown, has been ways to try to suppress it. I think the DOJ and the FBI are complicit, and I think that these actions are being done just as if that crazy global cabal of pedophiles that I would have been a year and a half ago saying you're fucking crazy, it doesn't exist. That same thing is literally forming in front of your face.
Yeah, I used to argue against it openly, being like, look, I can see why you might think that, but imagine the risk involved, and sure, there might be a couple of creeps among them, but surely they'd do it behind closed doors and they wouldn't coordinate. They're not going to be flying them across state lines and putting themselves to that extreme amount of risk because, it just takes one whistleblower and da-da-da. I was arguing consistently against it, and then I had to turn around after that and be like, I guess I was really naive.
Well, I had heard about Epstein when he was first charged, or at least not the most recent charges, but the ones before then in like 2006 or 2003. I don't remember. So, I didn't think in 2003, I didn't think, oh, Donald Trump, future president of the United States, is behind this. That didn't occur to me, but I think everyone was like, oh yeah, Bill Clinton was totally all over this stuff. And, I didn't think like that couldn't be the case. Right. Yeah. I didn't think Clinton was above necessarily doing that. So, it didn't. But having heard about this, you guys know who Dennis Hastert was? I'm pretty sure Renee knows. He was the Speaker of the House. He was an incredibly powerful Republican Speaker of the House, arrested for pedophilia.
Mm-hmm.
So, actually knowing about this stuff, actually having read about it, like I would never say, I would say a cabal of pedophiles does not run the world. I don't believe that, but that there are high-placed people doing bad things for sure. And that some of them, in terms of coordination, what Epstein was doing was kind of in a class by itself, at least as far as I know. I hope so. But what the what the theory hypothesizes is that Wayfair is shipping trafficked kids in boxes to rich pedophiles, selling the kids for $50,000.
This is the thing. I understand the extremes, kind of like Aristotle, Doctor. I understand the extremes. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you cannot deny that you are seeing a international group of pedophiles that have basically infiltrated the most sacred government on the planet, essentially, to hide their actions.
I wouldn't have denied that. So, well, part of that is because Trump is a corruption machine. I mean, that's, whether or not he's protecting himself, and, he very well may be, he's definitely protecting his friends.
What do you know about the Franklin scandal?
Well, I can't say that. So think about it like this, right? Like a year ago, if I were to hear these words come out of my mouth, I would think that I'm drunk or mushroomed and fucking high. Now I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I get it. You scatter a gun, you shoot a shotgun, you're gonna hit a lot of different things, but they were on target, in my opinion, of the links, the connections, and everything about higher ups. I'm not saying they're hitting dead eyes. I'm just saying they're on target. And that's what I'm trying to see, like with what you're talking about with the truth thing. If you click on that, I would say a year and a half ago, you have like a 20% thing being true. But now I would say you're at a coin flip. I mean, it may not be Wayfair doing it at a national scale, but one of these people who are powerful could do that with that company. You know what I mean? It's like I said, I truly think it's more of instead of left-right thing, I think it's more of a religious thing. I think if you just skewed it that way, you would literally see pretty much the exact same data cluster.
Yeah, that probably statistically tracks.
I wonder, that would be interesting because you'd still get the same data cluster just because of left and right's going to be more religious. But I wonder if the clustering would become even more distinct, that you find that once somebody's given up religion, the chance for believing in a grand conspiracy, like a sort of, particularly one of the, like we're saying, there are some with higher probability of being true and ones with a staggeringly low probability of being true. It would be interesting, if you split it that way and you go, it turns out the atheists and the agnostics only tend to believe in stuff that could quite probably be true anyway.
So, yeah, this has been studied.
And when they give up religion, does mainstream now become their authority and source of truth?
No, and that's nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think what happens, like, I get why that is the worry from the religious person's point of view, but it misses the fact that part of the reason you become an atheist or agnostic is you're sick of somebody else telling you what you should be thinking, and you start thinking for yourself a little bit more. And so you don't, what I think somebody who's more religious is likely to go, well, I've got an authority that tells me everything. Therefore, if I abandon this authority, I must just go find another one. Whereas for the atheists, it's, I've seen the problem in relying on an authority, so I've now abandoned having one.
Right, but in some weird way, they've adopted the mainstream as the authority. If they just,
Why is that?
Well, because like if you look at the graph, like,
yeah. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think any of those. Yeah, if you look at the graph, I don't think if we pretend it's just religious and non-religious right now.
Yeah.
I don't think any of those dots are because of God. I guess you could connect it, or because they believe in God. It's because they don't have to.
If I know that you believe in
the man-made authority.
If I know you believe in things that aren't real, then I can present you things that aren't real, and you will accept them as reality.
Here's one way to look at it. You know that recent doco about the guy from the offshoot of the fundamentalist Latter-day Saints, and he just starts telling these people that he's a prophet and he's got to be with your daughter. And then there's another one I saw where this guy snatches and keeps a girl, and he keeps her for like a year or two before she escapes. And in both cases, you have the victims say something nearly word for word to one another, which is essentially, I know it sounds crazy. Some guy snatched me out of my bedroom, said I'm a prophet of God, and bundled me off and took me into the woods. But you've got to understand, I was brought up in a Mormon context in which prophets did come down and walk the earth and talk to people. So I lacked the critical faculties to say, hey, this smelly guy is probably a hobo, where somebody who doesn't think that prophets come down and speak to people is going to have, and I think you're right, Locksmith, it will end up being a very normie view. But yeah, if somebody came up and said, I'm Jesus, I'm going to immediately go, no, you're not, you're schizophrenic.
So I put a link in there, Eggs. You can look at it for a white paper. That's one of them that I've found.
So we examine the interrelation between religiosity, anti-intellectualism, and political mistrust in predicting belief in conspiracy ideas, improving on previous psychological research on the link between religiosity and social and political attitudes. Do we go down here? Right. Among believers, the importance attached to their religious worldview was directly associated with higher belief in conspiracy theories, and this link was partly mediated by a higher anti-intellectualism. Right. And that's kind of what I was saying before, is if you believe the Earth's 6,000 years old, you've got to think that the scientists who say it's millions of years old are idiots. Political trust, in turn, served as an inhibitor of the link between religiosity and conspiracy belief. Right. So if you trust your politicians, you're less likely to believe this stuff. Among non-believers, there was no direct association between importance of non-religious worldview and belief in conspiracy theories. Right. Being non-religious doesn't stop you. However, we found a higher trust in political institutions accounted for the negative association between non-religious worldview and lower belief in conspiracy theories. Okay, so it is kind of what you're saying, Locksmith, which is I'm liking as an atheist to say maybe we're thinking better, and it's saying no, they're not thinking better, they just trust the government more.
Yeah, because I mean, if you believe in God or creator, you believe your intelligence, your rationality is God-given. So it's not like you're just throwing that out the window.
I don't know if it's government as much though as institutions. I think it's probably true of institutions, right? I was raised Mormon. I'm agnostic now. But if I were to pick, like who do I trust more? I wouldn't say the government, but I would say, academia or professional organizations or whatever. I trust those way more than I trust, say, like a pastor or some religious authority.
Well, in the religious worldview, though, the state is God's will. I forget the verse that supports that they use, but it would be
give unto Caesar, or is it different? Something else?
It's that one, and there's one other one, and like it literally escapes me. But in their worldview and how it's framed, essentially, it is the state itself is a manifestation of God. That's why you're seeing this Messiah complex you have with Trump now. They literally see this as God's actions. Like his assassination attempt that didn't happen and was foiled. It was immediately branded out as God's will be done. You know what I mean? I mean, like, it's the Messiah complex that they're playing on, and Trump is filling the void of the Christian mind essentially for that want.
Yeah, I think rebellion, because he won. Trump won, and they've been listening to pastors, and they've seen, in their mind, like country going to hell in a handbasket, and things being taken over, all that stuff, and then they see a guy that wins, and it's sort of like the Christian prosperity doctrine, where there's a weight given to people that win, and it is sort of funny that's evangelical America stepped right in line behind Trump. One thing that's interesting coming from a Mormon perspective, so from Mormon kind of history, and this is like a theme that is taught from the Book of Mormon, is this idea of like conspiring men. It's like baked. I mean, I remember hearing about it all the time growing up, about these like they called it secret combinations. So Mormons are sort of uniquely primed to buy into these conspiracy theories. But it's kind of funny because they were one of the few groups in 2016 that rejected Trump. I think it's shifted. I think there's a lot more support now. But I always thought that was interesting that Mormons didn't just jump on that Q child abuse bandwagon more than they did.
Well,
and
one of the things,
you go, Renee.
I was saying one of the things I was talking with Omni about was like the use of the right of these conspiracies, of the right themselves, the people who are promoting the parties to utilize religious specific conspiracies like war on Christmas and all those other aspects of life. But the right understands the connection of the person and religion to state, and I think even Billy Graham said that he doesn't want to see like church and state mix, and it's just like the right utilizes the mindset. I've always said this: religion's bullshit, and bullshit is fertilizer, and you can literally plant seeds of miscontempt, and it grows very well in religious mindsets.
Well, particularly, I think the good example, and I hope I'm not going to be offensive when I say this, Finky.
No, you can go like there's nothing you can say about Mormonism that'll offend me. So go say whatever.
I think Mormons are exceptionally primed for this because the story of John Smith is that he's a known con man that goes, I found some tablets, and he sticks his head in a hat. I don't know if people know this story. Joseph Smith, puts his head in a hat and says, I've got these magical stones in here. And so seer stones that I look through, and then these golden tablets, and nobody else can see them. But I dug them up under a tree, and I'm now reading the Book of Mormon out to some guy who's writing it. It's just obviously ridiculous. And then even part of the story is that the guy who's scribing it for him and also apparently bankrolling his operation, his wife gets a little sus and goes, I don't think that guy's a prophet. I think he's just sticking his head in a hat and making up stuff. So she steals the whole manuscript and says, in order to prove this is true and you really are using these seer stones, read any part out, word for word, pick a page at random. I'll ensure those words are the same on the page, and then I'll know that you're telling the truth, and I'll give you the rest of it back. And Joseph Smith gets very upset and then goes and sits under a hill and has a talk with God, and he comes back and he goes, oh, look, God's so annoyed that you did that he's going to be pretty annoyed with women for quite some time, actually. But also he's rewritten the whole Bible. So it's going to be very similar to what it was before, but almost like it's just being made up again on the spot. And that's wild, like how much belief that takes to believe that guy's story. But the weirdest bit about it is that's not like outsiders say this about Joseph Smith and the insiders don't believe that. To my understanding, unless Pinky's going to correct me, that is the mainstream understanding of how the church is formed. So it's like obviously a bullshit start, which just means your ability to tell when you're being scammed must be so low, because the whole thing is like, guy should have had scammer printed on his forehead.
Yeah, dude, I was over here laughing while you were telling that. And it's so that's very accurate. One thing there's two things that are interesting in that. One is when I grew up, I didn't know any of that. Like everything you just shared is stuff that's been that due to the internet basically came up, and the church couldn't deny that it happened anymore. Growing up, I learned that he had gotten the Urim and Thummim, which were like these like special spectacles. And then he looked through those, and it's sort of like he read it, and there were like pictures of him, looking at the plates with these spectacles on it, and he would read it and look at it. And it wasn't until later I learned that in reality, the gold plates were not even in the room. They'd be off in they'd be somewhere different entirely. And he would just look into his hat with a stone in it.
I assumed he just lied about having the tablets in his hat and just stuck his head in a hat and go, no, you can't see them, because he's really strict that nobody else could see the tablet.
No, just nobody.
That was the greatest gaslight of all time. That was the greatest. That was the greatest gaslight I've ever heard in my life. Like that should be the actual case study of gaslighting.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's part of like, I don't want to say like I definitely agree that it makes people more primed to be gullible, which is all the more reason why it was interesting that I think they rejected Trump just for actually being vulgar. I think Mormons tend to be very prude, so they didn't. They had the stuff with grabbing pussy and all that, and so a lot of them just rejected for that. But what's funny? This is a funny thing, because I was in.
They grab a lot of pussy though.
Yeah, that's true. Joseph Smith was prime, because the other part on the other half of that is he told, or later he said that an angel appeared to him and gave him the very important commandment that he was to marry all of his followers, take multiple wives. And if he didn't want to do it, guys.
Yeah.
But if he didn't do it, the angel was going to come with his flaming sword and kill him. So
God.
Yeah, that's why he had to marry you.
So basically, I'm here to fuck your wife, and I don't want to fuck your wife. But unless I fuck your wife, the angel's going to destroy the world.
Yeah, it's very similar to David Koresh. David Koresh had a similar tact. He's like, sex is sinful. So as your leader, I don't want to do this, but I will take on and do this sinful act with your wife, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
Dude, I want to start a cult. This sounds fun.
The funny thing is, that's Warren Jeffs as well. And then you get this new guy, Samuel Bateman, with the new one that's out on Netflix now, The False Prophet.
Yeah, watch that.
And the funny thing watching
it's so
him
hard to watch
is he clearly believes it. Like he's a creep and an abuser, and he's clearly going, "Hey, yeah, God came and talked to me, and your prettiest of your daughters needs to come and live with me now." So it's gross. But he's also regularly talking to the camera in a way that you're like, if you were a clever cult leader, you would know what to say, but you'd crucially know what not to say. And he was clearly just so bought into this bullshit, he didn't know what not to say. Like at one point he was saying he thinks that Queen Elizabeth was going to hear about him and realize the error of her ways and move over to America and marry him. And he was just saying this out loud to the camera crew. And you're like, oh, okay, this guy's cooked. Like, I thought he was a he's still a creep, but partially he's cooked maybe.
Yep.
Oh, man. Let's start a cult.
Not a cult of free thinking.
Well, all you need to do is just be able to go off by yourself for 10 minutes and talk to Sky Daddy and come back and meet. You know what I mean?
Be there, L. Ron Hubbard.
All right. So
I don't mind living on a boat.
Do we want to do a super fast round? Does anybody want to step out for a super fast round of debating something like a speed round of a chosen debate? Or should we start towards wrapping up the show because we're approaching 11 my time and we're doing 2 hour shows?
I debate.
Then we'll go back to the main room.
I debate evolution if someone wanted to debate.
Oh, yeah?
I can push back a little bit.
Go for it.
Do you state positions?
Yeah, I don't think we came from a happy accident and sea slime into a dog into humans.
Okay. My position is that there is evidence that shows that we have interconnected relationships towards multiple species on this planet. That is a result of a genetic connection, and how genes work is your parents fuck and then your kids have your genes. Meaning at one point we were all the same species or creature.
Okay. Okay.
So my evidence of evolution is genetics. It is a actual bridge that shows you through time, how we evolved from one creature to the next in our own species, and then you can see it in other species as well.
But you typically, things produce after their kind.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, like, there's no evidence of humans, reproducing and having like a rat as their offspring, right?
But you understand how ridiculous that is. And
that's
even
what I'm saying to you. Because
Yeah.
you're telling me rats produced and we got humans.
Okay, but so you said after their own kind. We're not
Right.
the same kind in the form that you want to use in religious of a rat. If you were to want to take it to absurdum, it would be us producing an ape, essentially, right?
Right, but the mainstream claim is that we came from slime or whatever you want to call it, sludge.
It would be basically a
dog.
single-celled organism. A single-celled organism to a fish, to a reptile. I'm sorry, to an amphibian, to a reptile, to a mammal, to a monkey-like thing, to an ape, and we're still apes, actually.
Yeah, so that sounds absurd to me. I mean, just equally as absurd as two humans producing a rat offspring.
Okay, but one has, I get the absurdity there, but the absurdity is answered by the genetic connection between those species. That's how you answer the absurdity.
Well, what's the genetic connection between a
a lot of our functional proteins that we utilize in forms to be what we are, like mammals or reptiles or whatever, those proteins are similar to, and not similar, almost identical to other species.
The proteins are similar?
The genetic coding to produce those proteins for a lot of our active protein synthesis. A lot of our quote-unquote junk DNA doesn't have that because junk DNA really isn't selected for. But the active DNA is kind of like the things that actually like make you do something.
Okay, so you're talking about the DNA is pretty much the same for all species?
Not all. If you want to take it there, then yes. If we want to
Well, not the same, but very similar?
Yeah, very similar, and there's some that's the same. One of the best proofs of evolution is endogenous retroviruses. Do you know what those are?
Endogenous retrovirus?
Yes.
No, nope.
So basically, it's crazy. So, I imagine if in COVID, one of the virus cells attached into a gamete, like a sex cell, and it gets passed like a very specific part of the genome, and it's passed down, to the kid. That's kind of very high level what an endogenous retrovirus is. And when you look at our genome in like a chimpanzee, I think we share well over 100, maybe even 200 endogenous retroviruses with that species.
Okay, I mean it's very interesting, but it's just not convincing me that that's the origin of
so
man.
think about this, right? So this is the crazy thing, and the percent chance of us sharing 10 of those endogenous retroviruses with that species is greater than the number of particles in the known universe. It's a direct insertion on a specific gene, and it's passed down over generations and generations and generations. So either in your claim that we aren't the same species, either that virus infected a chimp and a human at the exact same genome spot, or it was the same species and it was passed down over generations. One of them has the chance that outweighs the number of atoms in the new universe, and the other one is very linear to what we see in genetics and kind of with our eyes.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be too advanced for me because I don't see the link. So okay, wait. Let me try and understand it. So because these retroviruses interacted with the same sequence of DNA.
Yes, yep, exactly. The same insertion spot in the DNA. Exactly.
Okay. Well, to me, that speaks more to the virus where it chooses to insert. I don't know. I'm just not getting the whole big picture. How it.
So think about it like this, right? Think about it like this. So, imagine that the genome is a mirror, and the virus breaks the mirror at one point, and that mirror could be, replicated over and over again, and it constantly has that point. It has to have the exact same point break in a reflection. That's why I use a mirror of the other species in the exact same place to show what we see when we sequence a chimpanzee in ourselves. The simplest answer to that equation essentially is that at one point we were the same species. And then you see endogenous retroviruses that we have as humans that they don't have. And they have endogenous retroviruses that they have that we don't have. So you see a branching off over time. It happened like about 7 million-ish, about 7 million years ago.
So because they have this, or they have a similar vulnerable insertion point in their DNA sequence, they have to have been the same?
Because they had the same insertion point.
Right.
It's more logical.
The exact same.
Exact same. Precisely.
Okay. Well, I mean, we know we all have similar genetic makeups. Like even plants, like a banana is very similar to human DNA as well.
Yep. And that's what I was saying about active. Things that are selected for life. But yeah, exactly. We aren't. The argument essentially isn't towards plants. It's towards the fact that to our closest living ancestors. This is another crazy fact. Chimpanzees are more closely related to us than gorillas. That is, to me, that's shocking. That is the most damning piece of interconnectivity to me. And another fun fact: fish, like a fucking goldfish, they're more closely related to us than they are related to sharks.
That kind of works against evolution, in my opinion.
Not at all. It actually shows that the what is a fish branched off to what is a shark long time ago. Nothing that was a shark ever became land dwelling, but all of what became that fish was. So it actually speaks volumes towards evolution and the geologic column and deep time and multiple different things of the grand synthesis.
I appreciate the argument. I just don't think it's convincing, at least for me. Because so we have a similar or exact insertion point in our genome as monkeys. Therefore, we have to have been the same species in the past.
I said the argument of that virus inserting itself into the exact same sequence. That statistical probability, like I said, it's like the number of known particles in the universe. That number's higher than that. The more simplistic answer is that we were at one point the same species because it infected that species, and then later we branched off. But Eggs, do you want us to wrap it up?
Yeah, why don't we get final thoughts from either side and sort of what do you feel is the strongest side of each person's case? What's your strongest rebuttal to that case, and where do you leave it now?
It was interesting arguments. I'd never heard those arguments before. So yeah, Renee, if you got like a paper or something, maybe I can like digest more of the information and see, because it's still just it's not very convincing that we came from single cell to fish to rat to dog to monkey to man. So I'm just not convinced.
Well, final thought is I don't know if I can convince you, because I think you keep the equation of if evolution doesn't exist, then God does. And I would argue that even if evolution is real, it doesn't mean God doesn't exist. It just may mean that Abrahamic God that you're following doesn't exist. But I have papers and stuff that I'll send you. But one great YouTube, her name is Gutsick Gibbon. She speaks on these things very, very well, and she's actually way smarter than me.
Gutsick Gibbon?
Mm-hmm.
Gutsick Gibbon.
Sounds cool.
She speaks on evolution and everything very well.
Sage, can we please have a judgment of this debate about evolution? She'll take a few seconds. She does Sonnet for this. Oh, unless they've killed Sonnet. They killed Sonnet overnight, did they?
Aren't you supposed to say Sage at the end?
It works at the beginning, but it's much more reliable at the end.
No.
Please give us a judgment on this evolution debate, Sage. Oh, she'd already done it.
The debate suffers from a lack of depth and clarity. While Renee presents strong arguments and evidence, Locksmith's approach is dismissive and relies heavily on misunderstandings of evolutionary principles. The conversation needs more direct engagement with the scientific concepts at hand, rather than personal interpretations and sarcasm. The debate reveals a clash of perspectives. Renee's evidence-based approach versus Locksmith's skepticism. Clarity is lacking and misunderstandings abound.
Dang.
Okay. Yeah, so she's getting in there. That's good. I do wonder, though, I can't tell if she's decided you're being dismissive towards Renee's description of evolution, or if she's sort of, by being an LLM and knowing the argument of evolution, she's judging it personally. You know, but yeah, that was good. Good on you guys. That was very respectful. We got a good couple of chats in there. I really appreciate you all coming up to this.
Yep.
Let me just give us a rundown on how many viewers we've got. I think, it's going to be one. So to our one viewer and 20 participants, thank you for coming. We'll drop back down to Rig's main room now. Any last thoughts, feedback on what I need to do?
Thanks for doing it.
That was better.
Thanks for the
cool.
respectful debate, everyone. Then good conversation.
Wow, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you very much. It was a lot of fun. Do we have a post show? We can have an after show, right? Is that what we do now?
Yeah,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Eggshells, it looked like you were paying 43 cents an hour or something. Is that what it's charging? I saw that in the bottom right
what
corner.
I'm at now. Yeah, 46.5 cents an hour. So that's probably going to be about maxed out for full usage at the moment.
What is that running on?
Haiku. Anthropic's Haiku.
Oh, okay.
You got to go local. You have the horsepower to do it.
Yeah, I am looking at that. But yeah, just Haiku's so quick. It's weird, isn't it? That you get information. It's on my computer. I've got transcript on my computer, and then I send it to my graphics card and get it back with an answer. And that takes longer than sending it to Silicon Valley. It's literally the other side of the plane.
You got to get the right setup.
They have like Mount Rushmore, except it's all made of GPUs.
You said you have a 4080 or 4090?
Yeah, 4080, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. Then you're good to go. I'll send you
I might pick your brains on that after, actually, because you've got doing agentic tool calling, and I've tried about 3 times and given up 3 times.
Okay.
Dude, Locksmith, I've spoken to you and heard you talk. Dude, do you truly believe the world's flat? Like, you're not like stupid, dude. I don't know if you're LARPing a bit. Like, that's the thing. Like, I really think like you have intelligence. I think like you're like, but like, do you really think the Earth is flat?
It's more agnosticism because the model that's being presented by the mainstream has too many holes and too many unanswered questions that it relies upon. So it's just, again, like the evolution thing. I'm just not convinced.
Is it based on religion to a greater degree, like your belief in the Earth being flat, and it seems like evolution probably,
nah.
But like even the Earth being flat, no.
No, not the Earth being flat. It's more like trusting my senses and
But you can't
not
trust your
relying on
senses.
authority.
So I'll take the second part of that. Authority, right? Authority isn't the truth. The truth is what it is. If an authoritative figure delivers you the truth, I can see why that would not go well with you. But like, authority is not the truth. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but this same authority that's been caught lying time and time again is trying to tell me to not listen to my senses and what I actually naturally observe. It just throws up red flags for me.
But you don't naturally observe a flat Earth because you look at a sunset. You don't naturally observe a flat Earth because you look at a eclipse. You don't naturally observe these things.
Well, I mean, the Earth is treated practically flat for all.
For very low D tents and for stupid people, yes, it would be, and it could be.
Instruction
and it wouldn't matter. But if you want to fly a plane, if you want to do anything of relevance, if you want to do anything else, it's not. Like in war, would you agree that in wartime, you would want to be able to shoot as many bullets towards the enemy as possible?
No, I would want to be accurate with my bullet placement. Not just shoot as many as possible.
So what if you can do both at the same time? Because in naval gunnery and artillery, they incorporate earth curve. Why would you do that? In times of war, you're going to take an extra fraction of a second or whatever how long it takes to put this fucking variable in. But why would you do that? This is the most critical part of humanity. You're going to live or die upon these fucking equation, and you're going to use earth curve. You're going to incorporate these things.
Naval gunnery, what is that like? You're talking about rail guns, or what are you talking about?
No, fucking just a gun on the side of a battleship, or a artillery fucking emplacement like they're using in Ukraine. When you're shooting at certain distances, you incorporate Coriolis. You do these things. Why would they do that in those moments if the Earth did not purport to what the authority that you're telling me, but they're delivering you the truth?
I mean, do you have like a document where they're accounting for it?
Oh God, yes. Hold on.
Because I've looked and.
So it's. Are you on your computer right now?
Yeah.
You can just type in naval. You'll see it. It's called Naval Gunnery Calculations, and they'll run you through it.
Okay.
The best example of that might also include the Coriolis, or is that going to mix too much? Where the story of the Falklands, where the first time forever the British are fighting south of the equator, and they've just never bothered to put in, like, you've got a dial that you go click, click, click for the your latitude, but they've just never thought that I would ever be below south latitude. So they were firing their shells and getting wrong by double the correction because they were correcting in the wrong direction.
Like I said, in the time of war, when you do a calculation to put a shell somewhere, why would you add an earth curve? Why would you do these things if these things weren't there? Because you're going to fucking die if you mess up, you know? It is actually one of the most critical points I've always wanted to ask flat earthers about, because like wars are going on right now. They're incorporating earth curve in these calculations right now.
They're a difficult source, though, aren't they? Because we go into the military. Go on, like Locksmith.
Yeah. No, it's just like there's so much controversy, right? Like there's no controversy over 1 + 1 = 2, right?
Well, unless you're Terrence Howard, then no.
Right. But but the shape of the Earth gets debated so much.
But you're not stupid enough to understand. Like there's pictures of Earth from space by NASA. So now, explain to me why I should not trust NASA, please.
Why you should not trust NASA?
Yes, sir.
Because they're part of the executive branch of the government, which are known liars.
Okay. Do you trust your parents?
Yeah.
Did they tell you Santa Claus existed?
Yep.
Why do you trust your parents? They're known liars.
Because they demonstrated they can be reliable.
Okay.
For things other than Santa Claus.
I'll accept that. I would say that even though the executive branch have been known to be known liars, they've been demonstrated to be more reliable than the not. Think you can't fuck someone over 99% of the time. On average, you can fuck someone over probably 49% of the time, and then 51% of the time they win. So, like at the end of the day, the executive branch being known liars, not disagreeing with you on that. But I will disagree that just because that they lied to us doesn't mean that they cannot be trusted. That's why I brought up the Santa Claus thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like apples to oranges to me. Like a good-hearted, we're spreading the spirit of joy, celebrate the holiday, whatever is what people do, versus like intentionally lying to beget evil.
Lie. No, a nice lie. Just because it's a nice lie doesn't mean it's not a
Renee's
lie.
on Xena. Let Locksmith finish.
I apologize, Sage.
Yeah, nice lie. I mean, it's still a lie.
I think they call them white lies, right? Or like your girlfriend comes to you and she's pregnant, or your wife. I guess that's who probably have it framed. For me, it's always been girlfriend. But and they tell you, "Hey, I'm pregnant. Do I look fat?" And you say no. You know what I mean? But pregnant women don't look fat. They just look like something's like about to bust out of their stomach, like they've ate too much. But you know what I mean? Like those are like white little pretty lies, but they're still a lie. And the truth.
Say no if you want to live.
I agree with that. But the truth isn't always bearable. And this is the thing, Locksmith. Like the truth is honestly this: the universe is billions of years old. Over that time, the probability of life will happen. Anything's possible, and even in your own gospel, it says all things are possible through God. Right. If you just associate God to inevitability, I think that you could be very consistent to scriptures, and not have to be dogmatic to literalism. Because you're a flat earther because you
logical argument. I only see like 3 rational conclusions. God, which I agree that's circular reasoning. The simulation type theory, which is infinite regress, or just the mainstream materialistic randomness, happy accident, brute fact.
So this is the thing. Happy accident. You say that because of the term random, right? It's a random mutation. It's a random that, right? Remember how I said inevitability? What will happen within the parameters in which it can happen. That's what life is. Life is something that what will happen can happen within the like that's what it is. That's why everyone's interested in finding Goldilocks zones. That's why everybody's interested in listening to fucking potential maybe radio waves and things like that. God is inevitability, and life is inevitable. If you want to say that God did A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you just want to subscribe to a specific subset, but the overall preference of all those subset is trying to have understanding of the naturalistic world. And that's why the Abrahamic God is simply the God of the gaps. And that's why evolution feels like an attack on that God. That's why cosmetology, that's why geography feels like it's an attack on that God, because it was an absence of knowledge that people just said, well, therefore God.
Yeah, when I brought up the 3 options, God, I wasn't necessarily talking about the Abrahamic God, just a creator, an intelligent creator.
I get that, but the thing is, it's outside of the Abrahamic God. What argument do you have against evolution? Because genetics shows we are interconnectedly genetically related to all these creatures on this planet.
Yeah, right. I haven't looked into the retrovirus information you were talking about, but I'll take a look at it. But
that's one thing.
Just from just observing, we don't see animals, we don't see animals producing things that are not of their kind.
Well, that's because you think that evolution's Pokemon. This is the direct definition of evolution is allele frequencies over time. We will not see the next fucking evolution of man in our lifetime. We'll see a variant of it that will then interbreed and interconnect back into the society, and that variant has a socially selectable trait. Potentially that variant could be the dominant allele frequency. That's literally what it is. Like we literally, like honestly, our creature, our species, we were probably fucking what you would call a monkey at one point. I mean, like it's legitimately like evolution's a spectrum. It's not a black to white jump. It's not like you have to get to this level, then you jump up here. It's a gradual change over time, and a lot of religious people like to break that down between micro and macro evolution. That's just splitting hairs. Evolution is evolution. Micro evolution is what you can see in short periods of time. Macro evolution is what you can see in long periods of time.
All right, so I guess for me, it's the cosmological argument and the fine-tuning problem. Right? You don't like that? Right,
No,
so the probability for things to be such, in perfect conditions that we observe them, the whole entire universe, Earth itself, right? The probability for that to be finely tuned is so improbable that it had to be, from a random multiverse, or they can't explain it naturally. We could explain it with God, simulation, or randomness.
Do you remember when I said what can happen? So think about Mars, right? Do you agree that Mars is a planet that's not Earth?
A planet, it's an object in the sky.
Okay, so on that object in the sky, there is no life, right? But in that object in the sky, it's actually within what we call the Goldilocks zone, where life as we know it could actually form from our theories, right? But there is no life there. So God has the ability and power to create life here, but not there, and not on Venus, which is within the Goldilocks zone, and or not on Jupiter. It's not in the Goldilocks zone. It's a fucking crazy, fucking chaotic thing. But life has formed where life could form. Remember how I said the definition of God is basically inevitable? Like it's like Thanos. I'm inevitable. That's what God is. That's what life is, actually. Within the parameters in which it can happen, it will happen with enough time.
All right, so have we observed another Goldilocks zone?
Multiple. There's something called the Fermi paradox, where you can actually show it's a non-zero chance that there's aliens.
Okay. Not just as a non-zero, it approaches one. The probability approaches one.
Yeah, exactly. I like to minimize it.
Yeah, well, it goes up and up each year because it says the Fermi paradox is just like what planets are in the Goldilocks zone, and it was written where we didn't know of a single exoplanet, and we just presumed there might be some there, and then now we've discovered millions of exoplanets, many of them within Goldilocks zones.
Yep, that's what I'm saying, that's the thing. It's like within those zones, we like I said, Mars has no life. Venus has no life. They're within our zone. So there's a bit of what I think Locksmith's saying of fine tuning, but that fine tuning has nothing to do with God. It's like literally parameter within that zone. One's too far away, one's too close. You know what I mean?
So you're settling with brute fact. It is what it is. Life just, the Goldilocks zone is because this is where it was, because this is where it was. This is where life could occur.
Life as we know it, right?
Right. So that's brute fact. So that's you're following to my theory.
Yeah, I would say it's a bit of brute fact, but it's not, because the only evidence we have of that and why it is ourselves. So that's why it's a brute fact. You know what I mean? It's not as if it's a brute fact that I think over time probably won't be disproven. But the only reason why, in my opinion, it's a brute fact is because we just have one example of the formation of it.
Right. So yeah, brute fact, it just doesn't align with me. Just doesn't.
But God to you is a brute fact, though.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So if you accept one brute fact, what is the differentiation of this
fact with no cause or prime cause? It's just a brute fact. We don't know.
Nothing came from.
So think about it like this, right? Because God's a creator. Do you have kids?
No.
Okay. So I have 3 of them, and their prime cause is probably me being horny. And that doesn't mean that horniness is their God. You know what I'm saying? Like the creator's intentions or whatever has nothing to do with the outcome. Like in the grand scheme of things. So it's like things can be created for purposes that had no concept of like, oh, I'm going to be even doing any of these things. Like to me, it's this: if I were to subscribe to a God, it'd be a hapless scientist that accidentally mixed 2 chemicals together, and over time it became life.
Yeah, but who made the scientists? Where'd the scientists come from?
I'd go panspermia, and then I have to go to where that life came from. Ah, fuck. Abiogenesis. You subscribe to you no way you subscribe to abiogenesis.
No.
Yeah. But I like I said, I truly believe that when you look into these theories, when you look into these thoughts, you have a symmetry to reality. I mean, like you can literally look at chimps fucking carrying fucking spears and going to war in fucking lines against people. That's what we do. They do the same things we do. You can almost see these things with your eyes, as it like the same way that you say the Earth is flat because that's how I perceive it.
That's the thing. We can't really observe it. We don't see animals changing into different species. We don't see, the proof that the Earth is billions of years old is, not very competent, in my opinion. There's the great unconformity. There's just so many issues along the way, and just like assumptions that are just.
How old do you think the Earth is, in your opinion?
I don't know.
No, just shoot a number. So how about this? If I said the Earth is a million years old, what would you say to that?
Like, what's the evidence for it?
Dinosaur bones.
Like, so how you dated the dinosaur bones? So you got to go to carbon dating.
Carbon dating, geographic layers, stuff like that. Yeah, millions of years old, at least, right? But I believe the Earth is way older than that. It's like 4.5 billion years old. You have to go to like these things called zircon crystals, and
you could probably tell me how the weather was back then too, right?
No, you couldn't tell the weather, but like what you get from the strata from like Antarctica and like areas of like Greenland and stuff, you can go back hundreds of thousands of years and see the weather patterns, but not billions of years.
Yeah, for me, it's like every turn down the mainstream logic chain, there's just gaping holes that they rely upon, and it's just not convincing to me. I feel like you got to use more belief if you're an atheist or materialist nowadays.
I think you use less belief and you utilize facts more than belief.
When you believe in facts could be true or untrue, but you're putting your belief in facts.
I think I'm putting my belief in a collection of facts that verify one another. And that's why the globe model is beautiful, because I don't constantly have to play mental gymnastics to describe 2 different phenomena at the same time. I can describe a sunset and a eclipse at the same time with the exact same model. You can't do that on the flat Earth model.
I guess. Why couldn't you?
Because the locations wouldn't purport to one another at the same time. I can describe the precession of Mercury's equinox as a heliocentric model. There's so many different things you are able to do with one model. And in flat Earth, you have to use like 1,000 different fragmented models to make sense of reality.
Yeah, it's like I don't really care about flat Earth too much. Like, you know, it isn't. That's just what I experience and what I observe and how it's treated, right? You know, but it's
I
the
get
holes
that.
along the way in the model. Like geocentrism is a big thing for me.
Can you tell me a hole?
There's so much evidence for it.
Can you tell me one of the holes?
Yeah, the motion of Earth, geocentrism, how all the evidence and observation shows that, you know, we occupy a unique position in the universe.
We do occupy a unique position in the universe, but it doesn't mean that we're the center of our own little solar universe here.
Well, I mean, if you say we occupy a unique position, that's against the Copernican theory.
You truly. Okay. It's literally it's space-time continuation, right? You sitting wherever you are right now are occupying a unique position in the universe. Yes or no?
Right, but you know, when astronomers speak, when they say a unique position in the universe, that means it's unique to everything else around it. Everything is.
And as I just made that statement, I make the same statement. Am I sitting exactly where you are?
And no.
Is anyone else?
No.
So do you occupy a unique position in the universe?
Do I occupy? Yes.
Yeah. So as Earth does, everything does.
Yeah.
So just because it occupies a unique position in the universe doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, like colloquially speaking, but you know, the astronomers.
That's actually speaking.
Okay, so why would Hubble say occupying a unique position is such a horrid idea? Is to be avoided at all costs.
Why did Hubble say that?
Yeah, I mean, you said we occupy.
I would
a unique
say it's
position.
more about reference frames than.
I'm just saying that all mainstream disagrees with you. We don't occupy a unique position. So now you're abandoning mainstream. Now we're arguing against mainstream.
Exactly. Remember how you said all normies just follow mainstream? So apparently I'm abandoning it. That's fine. But
well, it's just confusing because you're supposed to convince me of the mainstream, but you guys abandon mainstream whenever.
I would argue that statement is more about reference frames than what we were actually talking about.
No, it's like if you look at the Copernican principle, it's that we don't occupy a unique position.
You know what? I don't know the Copernicus. I know who Copernicus was. I don't know the principle. What is that principle?
It's pretty much that we don't occupy. Yeah, we don't occupy a unique position in the universe. We're not in the center of the universe. We're just
okay.
Yeah, an insignificant speck among the stars.
That's what I was saying.
It's scientifically consistent, though, right? Because one of the principles in science, I forget what it is, but it's sort of the mundaneness of your results is what you should expect. So, like if you see a phenomenon or measure something, a core assumption you need to make is this is not special. This happens all the time. And so I think then it's applying that same principle to going, okay, when I look out into the cosmos, it's easy to want to say, of course I'm in the middle because everywhere I see around me is equidistant from me and da-da-da-da.
Exactly.
But to say, well, based on the same principle of saying everything is mundane, it's just not just because it's special old me doing a test that this test is special, then the same principle would say just because we're somewhere doesn't mean that somewhere is special.
Is everywhere. I would say just because that somewhere is not everywhere. But exactly, that's what I'm saying. We do all occupy a unique position within the universe. But just because we occupy that position, it doesn't mean it means shit. That's basically the Copernican principle.
No, because to explain why we're not in the center, we have to assume that the universe is expanding in all directions, right? So that's going to introduce a lot of problems.
What problems does that produce? Every evidence says that the universe is expanding. We have
right. You guys say it would have to be expanding 4 times faster than the speed of light. So that's a problem right there.
Faster than the speed of light. What do you mean by that?
Right. I mean, this is the mainstream model. How fast is the universe expanding? It's expanding faster than the speed of light. All right, but you guys also say speed of light is constant. So it's just like everywhere we turn,
I don't know.
This mainstream model,
I may be
you guys
ignorant.
try to convince me, it's just not convincing because there's
I
too
may
many
be
holes that you
ignorant,
guys.
but I don't know how the universe could expand past the speed of light. The speed of light.
Well, this is relied upon in your model.
Yeah, it's
No,
meant
it's not
to be
relied
this
upon.
very confusing thing, which is like you can keep going faster and faster, but due to relativity, you're still just effectively stationary. But expanding faster than the speed of light, my understanding is it's expanding and it's expanding rate. So if you look furthest this direction, I'm probably wrong on this, but I think this is my understanding of it. If you look furthest this direction and you look furthest that direction, and you compare those two to one another, they are moving faster apart from one another than light speed. But that's because in their own areas, they are moving very, 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 very quickly.
Well,
and where we are
this is weird, right?
Not really.
So from one relative point, if I'm moving at the speed of light, antipodal to you, you know what I mean? Would that not mean in between that we're moving at 2 times the speed of light? You know what I mean?
So
Go on me. I don't know the answer.
No, if I'm conceptualizing it correctly, yes, you would say that the gap of material, the space between where there is no information.
The space between. Sorry.
I'm just saying.
Sorry.
But yeah, this is where we get
if I'm thinking about that correctly, yes,
Diddy.
you could have non-existent things or areas of null, areas of void, whatever that can,
That would be like 2 times the speed of light, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's not even the mainstream. The mainstream is it doesn't break the laws of physics because that only applies to objects moving through space, whereas the cosmic expansion is the stretching of space itself. So we have nothing expanding faster than the speed of light. So this is where we get into all the absurdity where you guys rely upon this to explain why you're not in the center of the universe. It's not convincing.
Yeah, because that seems like similar to what Tristan's saying. Tristan doesn't seem to be able to speak up at the moment. So he's saying it's not the speed of light, it's the speed of causality, which these things always break my brain once people start explaining this.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
The speed of information. Yeah, space itself can expand at any rate as long as information isn't transferred. See, I don't even understand information. To me, like words on a page are only information provided somebody can read them. I don't get any of these things. None of these
information in this sense is about structure or Boolean logic on off. If something is or is not. So there's actual.
Not dead.
Yeah, there's actual math to that. But
I don't like it.
But right, in terms of the philosophical definition of is it information if somebody can read it, which philosophically actually you can make a very good case for.
Okay.
That's not what I was referring to.
The causality, I see. So
in between the ability to transfer information, there is no ability to measure distance or speed. Is that a correct statement?
Like light from a distant star or gravity waves from a distant black hole system. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm muttering. I'm reading out Tristan's bit. I don't have answers for you.
Yeah, so and these are relied upon to explain why it appears that we're in the center of the universe, right? So that's just one of the holes. Then we go into motion. There's no orbital velocity detected. The stationary Earth frame is the only frame in which the laws of physics directly apply in regards to rotation. That's another thing. It's just I could go on and on at every turn. There's going to be a relied upon assumption that I don't agree with, and I could challenge.
I have a question. If Tristan, I don't know if he'll speak up or talk or chat or answer a question, but is there a way to measure speed and distance without the ability to transfer? The answer is no, right? How the fuck can you measure fucking anything without the transference of information?
Yeah. I mean, it having speed itself would be information from what I understand Tristan is saying.
Exactly.
I don't... It is more complicated than I think that
we'll be able to get to.
I don't think we can get to it, and I don't know if I can do it right now. But basically, there is no reason. What this treats as information is essentially the existence or non-existence, like time intervals could still be information, right? If I fire a photon,
light, yeah, light, just light, yeah.
Yeah. So,
and further, the alleged cause of this expansion is dark energy, right? So it relies on dark energy for your explanation.
I wrote a paper about that. It works.
Yeah, it works because it was a band-aid designed to balance out.
No. It shows how we could utilize everything we do today without having to incorporate dark energy or dark matter.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, you can probably tear.
But that's not is that mainstream? Because that's not what they teach kids in school and college.
Not at all. This is a mushroom trip and deep depression.
Information drives knowledge theory.
Yeah,
you're talking about. Yeah. It's a very interesting one because it's one I've thought of. It's similar to one I've thought of a lot, though I didn't put any of the maths or work you did into it. But it was just like, and then I heard Billy Connolly made the same joke, which is essentially, could scale be a thing? Could you zoom in either to moments or just to atoms, or zoom out? And could there be sort of universes inside a quark?
Well, exactly. Things that collapse, and that collapse produces these energy fields and things like that could actually interact with the light that we see. That was kind of what I was trying to get to in that one. I should take more mushrooms and see what happens. But at the end of the day, though, it's just talking about things that we don't understand yet. We just don't have the words to describe them yet. That's all it is.
But geocentrism doesn't have a geocentric globe Earth doesn't have any of these problems.
Yes, it does. It has more problems.
No, it doesn't have expanding universe going faster than the speed of light, or dark energy and dark matter. It doesn't need any of that.
But it doesn't offer a counter explanation, does it? Like, it doesn't say, here's why it appears that all of these stars are redshifted, or why it appears there are other galaxies that are lensed and refracted, so you see the same galaxy twice. I don't think you can say it doesn't have these holes, because it doesn't. It
answers that by saying we occupy a unique position in the universe.
I think we do.
Right.
You only need those explanations, the expansion of the universe, if you don't occupy a unique position of the universe. You need dark energy, at least mainstream.
What do you?
No, no.
I don't think you do. I think you just need dark energy to explain the rotation of galaxies, don't you?
No, that's dark matter. That's dark matter. Dark energy.
No. Or dark matter is the
missing mass.
Missing mass. Yeah.
Yes,
he's talking about missing energy that's pushing us apart.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're seeing these holes
where
in
I would go
models'
with that one
predictions,
is
we're replacing them with dark variables, mysterious dark variables that we can't observe.
So think about it like this. Remember, that's why I was asking that question earlier about if we cannot measure speed or distance or all these things where we cannot transfer information, you can't transfer information at light speed. It's impossible, right? We would always be like every time a photon of light that hits you from the sun, it's like 8 minutes old. We're always going to be on the tail end of reception at that point. You know what I mean? We have a distance from actual reality, and that's what I was writing about in that paper. It's a bit about how I came up with it was with like platonic forms, how things manifest themselves in reality but not in its perfect shape. And what I was trying to do is interpret that destruction from perfection to perception with math. But yeah, dude. Like I said, when I extended this conversation longer, like I said, dude, you have critical thinking skills. I truly believe that if you would not reject evidence that would say that God doesn't exist, and accept the premise that even with these evidences, it doesn't disprove God, I think that you would be more accepting of what you call mainstream than than you currently are.
Oh, maybe so. But yeah, I'm just not convinced, and I feel like you need more unjustified belief if you want to believe in the mainstream model that they're presenting you. Like I said, you got dark energy, dark matter.
I think you need more justified belief to believe in the religious model. I've never seen someone died come back. I've never seen the parting of seas. I've never seen a boat that has preserved the entire genetic profile that we perceive today, with the ability to feed, house, and like do these animals. Like those boats don't even exist today with modern technology. Those are the things where I feel that you would have to have more unjustified beliefs for than the quote unquote mainstream model.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna logically prove divinely revealed truth. I don't believe that.
Could you restate what you said?
Yeah, I don't think you can logically prove divinely revealed truth.
In that statement itself, you see the absurdity that I was trying to project to you. There's no way to do what you just asked for, because you can always just call on a miracle for a solution to actual logical physical problems.
Right, but that's what we see the mainstream model does. Right, well, that's what we see the mainstream model does when a relied upon assumption is falsified. They just make a band-aid that balances out the prediction.
I don't think they make a band-aid when it comes to dark matter and dark energy.
Okay.
But
then we ignore it and we abandon mainstream and we just circle back.
But what I'm saying though is, because we're talking about evolution, there's no band-aids evolution is asking for. You want to say a band-aid is time. And if that is the band-aid, then yes, evolution is asking for time. But I don't see one band-aid evolution asks for.
Well, there's no transitory species. We don't see a half fish, half rat. You know what I'm saying? Like
you don't see a half fish, half rat. Remember we talked about earlier, you go for your clade. So that would be jumping two clades.
Yeah. I mean, it's not my area of expertise, so you could be 100% right, and I could just be 100% wrong. So
no one's that. I'm not. There's no way I'm 100% right. There's no way you're 100% wrong. But I honestly, I disagree with that one. You are 100% wrong in this regard with evolution.
That might be.
But at the same time, the reason why you perceive you're wrong, there's no way that you're able to accept that. That's the reason why.
I mean, that's not necessarily true, because I mean, I think doesn't omnivore believe in evolution? You just say God enacted it to be that way. So it's not really a deal breaker for, like, it's not gonna, lose trust in my conviction in God. Right?
Yeah, I get that. But the thing is, it's at the end of the day, if you can accept the entailings of evolution, you must accept that the entailings of an Abrahamic God are bullshit. That's the fruit of the outcome. The fact that there may, the fact that we didn't. You know what's funny as fuck? In abiogenesis, there is a fucking like an RNA resequencing thing that will resequence itself on clay. There's statements like, in the beginning there was light. In that model that you would reject, there's matter and antimatter meeting, and that result is light. The original sin of Eve, childbirth being more painful, that would be a result of us standing more upright and having bigger brains. Like, there are fucking correlations, but at the same time, the entailings of those correlations still means that this book is bullshit. the Abrahamic God is bullshit. It's just a God of the gaps. There could be a God. There could be these things, but it's truly not that.
Okay. I'm kind of curious to hear how Omnivore, if he's there, what his position on that is, because I know, well, he said he's a Christian, but he often argues for the mainstream.
I would love to debate Omnivore on this.
my church is fairly mainstream, to be honest.
Right, but because Renee just said, if we accept evolution is true, that kind of violates or invalidates the Abrahamic religions.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think all it does is contradict a literal creation story. You can still, like, everything else still fits in just fine.
Okay, I'd go that route with you. But the thing is, it's when you have people who end up believing in flat Earth because of the literal interpretation of this, it would move you from being a dogmatic to a worldly individual.
It should, yeah. You should update to realize that the Bible is not literally true. But that's like, their whole worldview is built on that. Like, they have their own language for talking about just how infallible the Bible is,
Precisely. That's what I'm saying. So that's all I'm saying. You can follow anyone you want, but the thing is the only thing I argue against is literal interpretation of any dogmatic fucking narrative.
Particularly Matthew's resurrection story. That's my favorite go-to of come on, guys.
What was the issue?
Really cannot. Because it's the story of the resurrection, so it's told by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Am I right about that? Or at least Matthew, Mark.
That's correct.
And none of them. They all have an account that roughly matches up, and Matthew's account is wildly different. And I think everybody sensible looks at that, because most people aren't inerrant, Bible literalists, and they go, okay, he's zhuzhed up the story a bit. I don't expect every word to be true. I can be doubtful about speaking donkeys or parting seas, when I still believe that the core belief that this guy resurrected might still be true, or is still true. But the Matthew's one shows that the book must have stuff that's false in it.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's weird, though, because I know they usually classify Matthew, Mark, and Luke together. I think they call it the Synoptic Gospel.
Right.
And then John, they usually kind of have it stand on its own. But so you said Matthew, he had a whole different account.
Yeah, well, so Matthew basically, you go ahead, Eggs.
It's Jesus gets stabbed. He gives up his life. He says, Lord, why have you forsaken me? It's bang on Mark's account. I forget whose. It's basically looks like it's copied word for word off one other guy's account. The temple is torn in two. The veil of the temple is torn. The ground breaks open, and that's where everybody else stops. So there's an eclipse. That's where everybody else stops. I think some people don't have the eclipse and stuff. But then his goes, and then many of the graves of many holy men, or like saints, buried saints, who were in the grave, broke out of their graves. And after Jesus' resurrection, they went about the town, and many people saw them. And so it's got this story of Jesus getting resurrected on this day, but
the differences in gospel accounts highlight the fluidity of storytelling. Each writer offers unique perspectives reflecting their community's beliefs.
Yeah, similar. Yeah, exactly. And I think some people like this sexy story Matthew told, where it's clearly far stronger evidence that Jesus is the Son of God, because he rose up a bunch of other previous saints and believers in Yahweh. And the part of the story is they go about town and many people see them. Now, Jesus isn't seen in town. So if his account is true, you have Mark, Luke, and John are making they're making the best possible account of what happened, and none of them mention it. None of them go, oh, there's loads of other saints. We met Abraham, we met Moses, we met these people. There's one guy that tries to guess at their names, but we don't know who they are. why do we not know the other people who resurrected with Jesus who prove his divinity? And the other books don't just not know their names, just don't mention it. They're walking around in wherever they bury bodies because they're finding Jesus' tomb, and they're in the town in which it happened, and yet nobody else records it. And the most probable answer to that is, if I got 4 accounts and one of them is wild and nothing else matches that wild account, I'm going to go, that guy's probably just made that up. Zombies, exactly. Yeah, Repeaters put it here. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook and the rocks split. The tombs broke open. The bodies of many holy people who had died were raised to life. They came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection and went into the holy city and appeared to many people. So that should have been huge, right? The Romans should have been like, holy shit, what's going on? In fact, we should be a little bit confused as to why we think it's Jesus at all, because Jesus' body is just missing, right? Nobody from that town who just saw him get crucified ever sees him again. That's only his beloved folk who follow him up to where is it, Nazareth? Galilee, sorry. He goes away from the current town and is next seen somewhere else. So we do have accounts of people who were raised, and we don't have accounts of Jesus. Yet it needs to be squared. Like Mark, Luke, and John need to be like, it was a wild day. We were on our way to Jesus's tomb, and there were just zombies everywhere. And I was like, hey, that guy, what's he doing? You know, particularly because if he'd died much longer before, he'd speak a slightly different language. Like if your great-great-great-great-grandparents would get a little bit confused at some of the things, you wouldn't have the easiest conversations. And they don't mention it. They're sort of bustling through these crowds of saints who probably mean, in order to be saintly, my argument would be you would have to be really important to a large number of people. You would have had to have done something that is worthy of sainthood. If you're just a good person and have no impact, why are you being made a saint? As such, we should be talking about some pretty important people. And they just don't mention these very important people, zombies, but are sort of very clear on who said what and who was there and where we went next. And
yeah, I mean, it's just the fulfillment of prophecy. It's a callback to the Old Testament.
Jesus didn't fulfill any prophecies.
Well, literally, he did. Like,
which one?
Like, I don't know if I'm using the right word, but like literally, like in the literature, he did. Like the Old Testament.
Which one? Which prophecy? Because
all of them.
Jewish people will call Darius a Messiah, but they don't call Jesus a Messiah, right?
All right.
Which prophecy did he fulfill?
It's really which prophecy did he not fulfill?
All of them. Then my answer is all of them. There's no temple. There's no that's just one.
What do you mean?
There's no temple that was rebuilt. That's one of the major prophecies. There's your rebuilding of the third temple. Yeah, he didn't do that.
Yeah, so the Old Testament is just a foreshadowing
of what's
to come in the new. Right.
So which prophecies did Jesus fulfill?
Well, he is the temple. Like in the literature, it says New Jerusalem came down from heaven, and in the city, he didn't see a temple because the Lord was the temple. So he just fulfilled that prophecy. So like in the literature, he's fulfilled every prophecy. If you want to debate the historicity of the prophecies being fulfilled, like that's,
I'm not even debating the historicity of it. I'm even debating just from the biblical worldview. There is no prophecy that Jesus fulfilled.
I just told you which one. I just told you one.
I've Googled,
you said there was no temple,
and it said he's fulfilled over 300. Born of a virgin, born in Bethlehem, lineage of David, preceded by a messenger, ministry in Galilee, betrayal, life and death. He was betrayed by a friend, sold for 30 pieces of silver, silenced before abusers, pierced the hands and feet, gambling for his clothes, no broken bones, buried with the rich. Rising from the dead. And this is why I think you're right, Locksmith, because somebody said it was when the Messiah comes, it's meant to raise up the saints and Jesus, and it's meant to be that the Messiah comes first, which is why they think it's got such funny wording where he's giving if you read it, he's giving a chronological account that then jumps and then comes back. So it says the bodies of many people who had died were raised to life, and they came out of the tombs after Jesus' resurrection. So he suddenly jumps 3 days forward in the story. And a lot of people think that might be to explain the rising of the dead.
Yeah. So like, yeah, the historicity can obviously be debated, but if you're just looking at the literature and the story, he fulfilled like pretty much all the prophecies that were spoken of in the Old Testament.
So born of a virgin, he fulfilled that prophecy because he was born in a manger and 3 wise men came and visited him and gave him stuff.
Well, because they didn't have sex, right? Joseph was
probably a cuck, dude.
Probably, but he kind of got cucked by God, but yeah, he got cucked by God, but yeah, he fulfilled the prophecy because he didn't have sex with Mary. It was immaculate conception.
I think this is in like the Talmud, right? But like, what if Mary, who was born of highborn women, what if she was raped by a Roman soldier, which is highly probable? And then they go to this little cuck Joseph, and it's like, hey, do you not want to be a fucking goat herder anymore? You can come live here, but this is your kid. That's more probable than a virgin birth.
Right, but that's not in the scripture. That's not written down.
It's written down in the Talmud.
It was written down in the Talmud.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff written in the Talmud. I don't know if you want to co-sign Talmud.
I don't want to co-sign any of this bullshit. But what I'm saying is that in the time in which that is being written down for Christians, this is being written down in the Talmud. This shit wasn't written right. Like it wasn't like Twitter and there's like a fucking live fucking feed of Jesus. Like, you know what I mean? This is stuff that's written. So I have a question. Do you think George Washington had wooden teeth?
I mean, I've been told that.
Precisely. And that is in modern times with fucking modern technology to transfer information. And that mythos is something that it's almost like the Mandela effect, right?
Right.
Imagine back when like you couldn't even basically talk to your neighbor, like how we can do today. And then this transmission of Jesus in the story. The first things we have are hundreds of years after this event. Hundreds. So in our modern time, we have these mythoses inserted. And like I said, as a kid, I was told that. Oh, he had wooden teeth. Oh, he had wooden teeth. Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It's that's why it's a perception of not just one understanding; it's multiple understandings. I'm not. This is the thing, dude. Honestly, like to me, it's this. If I were to take any value from this Christian story, it's a man in the time of when all I need to do is just fucking convince enough people that Sky Daddy likes me and I can do whatever the fuck I want. It's just blood and steel. But the message of Jesus was, in my opinion, to sacrifice oneself above one's abilities. And honestly, that's the modern definition of being a man. Like the way you have to interact with women and all this other bullshit. We may be better than them in every fucking field, capability, physical, mental, whatever. We have to sacrifice our fucking strength and accept reality. And honestly, I believe in nuclear weapons. Our ego, male ego, is the only ego that will ever push that button. And that's what, in my opinion, in Nietzsche's opinion too, honestly, what Christianity has destroyed. And I think that's a fucking good thing.
Alrighty. I think that's a good chat. It's a nice break, and we have gone now to 3 hours, which I want to try and start structuring these shows, I think, a bit in future, so we deliberately aim for a time period. But last thoughts each, and then I want to go to the audience to hear thoughts, feedback on Sage and where she needs improvement and what we want for the next show. But first of all, like, Steel Man, what's the strongest point on the other side, and what's your final thoughts?
Well, I don't know. It was just a good discussion. You're talking about everything that we discussed, or just this last Jesus part?
Anything really?
Well, I mean, just overall, I think it was a good back and forth on both sides, and we didn't get too heated, so it's a plus.
I'd agree with that. I would steel man your side on that. I would say science doesn't purport to reality very well. And I would steel man on your side that a lot of science kind of does a bit of authority. And I'm smarter than you. You're dumb. Shut the fuck up and listen to me. But at the same time, where I do still disagree with you is to hand wave dismiss evidences that God has revealed to us.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna take a look at the retrovirus, and what was there another? What was the other thing you told me to take a look at?
Endogenous retrovirus was that, but
yeah,
honestly, but read Nietzsche. Read. It's called The Gay Science, but understand language changes. But Nietzsche is a great read. I would say that's another read I would recommend.
But
all right, good stuff. Other thoughts before we wrap it, audience? Peanut Gallery. All right. Well, it's been fun. We'll drop down to Rig's main room now.
Okay.
That was good fun. All right. I'll see you again next week. Send me DMs during the week if you've got a subject you want to present or something. But it was good. Yeah, we got to see Omni's thing. We had some about Flat Earth. We had some good ones about God. I'm going to put some political ones in next week, I think. Yeah. Good work, team. All right. I'll shut this down. I'll turn that stream off. Then I think, should I just pull everybody down to the wide stream?
Sure.